Silz, football season, baby, and I'll tell you what. This week of football, last night closed up week 15 of the NFL. Week 16, the schedule of football games that we're going to see coming up this week, pretty indicative of what is going to happen, I think, in the playoff race. Appreciate all of you coming aboard. Please hit that like button. Boy, I'll tell you what, man. There is no doubt we are now starting to funnel down on what teams are going to be the chumps and, as we said yesterday, the champs, and having an opportunity at winning a Super Bowl. I couldn't tell you who's going to win the Super Bowl. I can't even tell you right now who I think is going to make it to Santa Clara. I have no idea who's going to make it to Santa Clara. I think everything right now, you could pull Rams and Eagles. You could probably go Seahawks and Rams. You could probably go Seahawks, Eagles. Pick one. I mean, I really don't know what we're going to see when it comes to the teams that are going to make the Final Four in both the AFC and in both the NFC. I have no idea, man. So, I mean, could the Bills, this be the year the Bills finally get to the Super Bowl again? I mean, you're not going to have maybe Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes not in the AFC Championship, and you're not going to have them for sure in the playoffs. Lamar still would have shot. But those other guys, man, I mean, this might be a clear path to get your ass into a Super Bowl here if you're Josh Allen, especially on the AFC side. I mean, the Denver Broncos, I'm buying them. By the way, they beat you. They've won 10 in a row, and they got one of the top defenses in the National Football League. So, I mean, whatever you want to say, I don't believe in Denver. Well, they beat your ass. So, I mean, again, and they got the best record in football. The Broncos are just, hey, I got to say this. And I rarely do this. I'm wrong about Sean Payton. I compared this guy to Mike McCarthy. And Sean Payton, what is he going to do without Drew Brees? Look what Pete Carroll has done without Russell Wilson. You know, a lot of these coaches are tied into a quarterback. Well, what does he do? He goes to Denver. I'm talking Sean Payton. And remember, they had to give up a substantial draft pick because the Saints still had the rights to Sean Payton in his contract. So what did they do? He goes there, he cleans house, he gets Russell Wilson's ass out of there, he gets rid of some of the players that weren't buying in. And what does Sean Payton do? He's got the best. How many years has he been in Denver right now? I mean, 3 years? Is this the third year he's been in Denver now? They're the top seed in the AFC right now. That's a hell of a job of coaching and being an organizer and turning that program around. Kudos. Hey, Sean, I didn't think you were that guy. You are that guy. He's gone into Denver and changed the entire landscape around. They're the best team in the AFC right now. And he's done this in a matter of 3 years. And he had to move off of Russell Wilson. That's a hell of a job. Great job of coaching. Great job of team building. Hit the like button. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. I mean, hey, yeah, you can make the argument Belichick without Brady. Then again, no, that goes down the line of any great head coach. There's been very few head coaches that are not tied to a quarterback. I mean, every single one of them. Belichick, Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, Mike Shanahan, John Elway. What did Mike Shanahan do when he was in Washington? He didn't do anything. I mean, right? Every single great head football coach that was any significance had a great quarterback with them and knew how to move the sticks. Every single dude, though. Okay? I mean, here, what's this? This dude is out there starting show talking about Sean Payton. No material this week. Hey, fuckhead, leave then. Get out of here, man. No material. Last night, Mike Tomlin, I thought on that broadcast last night that they had the wrong guy they were talking about. Mike Tomlin did something last night that, for me, I thought was absolutely insane. That's the 23rd consecutive time that the Pittsburgh Steelers have won a football game on Monday night. I mean, that goes back to Chuck Noll days. Kudos, man. But then again, Mike Tomlin hasn't won a game. Hasn't won a game in the postseason since 2016. Cohen for the Jags has been crazy good as well. Liam Cohen has done a spectacular job. All right. So that we could suffice some of these idiots in here like this piece of shit right here, what we can do is we could go in there and now let's hit on the Eagles here. All right. Hit the like button. By the way, the legendary Jared Bell will join us. He is with USA Today. He's one of our friends. He's a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. He will be with us. That will be at 3:30. Then another Hall of Fame voter will be with us, Howard Balzer. You guys know him, and we'll go all around the National Football League with our friends. Today are 2 Hall of Fame voters. Remember something too, guys. There's only 50 of these voters, and we get 3 of them on all the time with us. Jared Bell will be with us at 3:30, and we will have Howard Balzer. That will be at 4:30. Hit the like button. Big Z will follow up and close us and take us home. We appreciate you guys. Please hit that like button. All right. I'll say this to you now. The one thing that we've been hearing and people have been posting all over my social media, you know what that is? We're back. And here, let me go to Corporate B Pumper. As the most realistic and humble Eagle fans on YouTube, Silz, what ammo do these fans have this year to talk like this? A bunch of cream-filled glazed donuts. That's all you're hearing. Again. All right? It is. A bunch of glazed donuts. I like the show. I'm going to leave. You're all amusing. You were very amusing, Sil. See you later, bro. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Hey, listen. I would say this to you. This week, I think it was a morale game. I do. I think it was a morale game. I think it was a football game that, for me, I think those guys really got a good kick in the rear end, and I think it was a morale game. I don't think it was really anything end of that. It was more this. Okay? It was more this. It was more of a morale game. Flexen says Hurts got something Allen doesn't have. Yeah, good organization. That's all he has. Doesn't have more ability. Can never lead a team. He doesn't have any of that. Keep glazing those bums who can't make the big game. Why? Because they don't have a good organization. Is that hard for you to follow along? Don't you get it? There's some teams that have really great front offices and some teams that don't. Just like some businesses make it and some businesses don't. Bro, the ring does not tell you how good the player is. You can get to a Super Bowl, as I've said before, with an average quarterback. You don't have to. It's not excuses. So get this, guys. Joe Burrow, Flexen believes that Joe Burrow is given the same ability of success in Cincinnati as Hurts has in Philadelphia. Is that what you believe, Flexen? Do you really believe that? That Joe Burrow is given the same ability for success? Or, okay, you believe that Josh Allen is given the same ability of success in Buffalo, New York, where they haven't done anything since he showed up that they weren't doing before. I'm not moving no goalpost. Here, I'll make a point to you here. You guys can't, you still can't get it. And you still don't get it. Listen, this is not how I wanted to start the show off with, but Bills year to year. Buffalo Bills year-to-year record. Okay? Here's the Bills. Year-to-year record. Okay. Josh Allen got to Buffalo in 2020, right? Okay. So he got there so here's Josh Allen since he's been there. 10-6, 13-3, 11-6, 13-3, 11-6, 13-4, and right now currently he's 10-4. Prior to Josh Allen getting there, 6-10, 7-9, 8-8, 9-7, 6-10, 6-10, 6-10, 4-12, 6-10, 7-9, 7-9, 7-9, 5-11. That goes all the way back to 2003. In what realm do you think that he's in a good organization? What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? They were a bad organization prior, and they really haven't retooled the team now. They haven't. Mahomes is a great ball player. Hey, get this. Brady owned Manning. He owned Peyton Manning. Okay? Glad to see you staying there, kid. I knew you would. See, guys, right here? It's a prime example of this right here. Ain't going anywhere. Are you kidding me? I'll tell you all that bullshit. Ain't going nowhere. It's like this guy. Josh Allen has no pull whatsoever. Hurts has to say in his roster. I'm not even going to comment on that. Hurts has a say on his roster. Okay? Wow. Really? Hurts has say in his roster. Well, if that's the case, no wonder you run a shitty offense. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow would put up 30 points a game minimum with this Eagle roster, clearly. And I said this morning on my Tampa show. What's Joe Burrow doing in Cincinnati? I get it. I hated that moaning session that he had the other day. But, dude, you're not going anywhere in the next 5 years in Cincinnati. Get the fuck out of there while you can. I mean, get the hell out of there. You're not going anywhere there. Josh Allen can't even get a ketchup popsicle from his front office. No, he just got $57 million. Making more than your boy. Joe Burrow is the best thrower in football. And we've had Bruce Arians on the program say that. So again, what you guys take out of that? Here's what we took out of the game. And what we've heard since the Sunday 31-0 Raider game. I'll still stick to it. And let me see over here on my X account where people are right now. Okay? Yeah. This is what I took away from it. On to Washington. On to Washington. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Who's a loser? Mikey, that would be awful if it happened. Caleb Williams might be better than who? Jalenites are probably the same morons who think LeBron is the GOAT. That would be true. The only green Burrow is going to be in is that shitty surgeon gown green he's got to wear when he's hurt. Okay. Great. And we'll be debating Jalen Hurts for the next 3 years in a shitty noodle arm. Underdog, let's see here. Not responding to dumb shit here. I was responding to Mikey's super chat, by the way. Got you. You missed my super Silz. I did? I thought we got it there. Let's see if we have any of the supers there, Xander, from Mikey here. I thought we got them all here. Could you imagine Allen on the Browns? Oh, man. My God almighty, the Browns would be in the AFC Championship game. Hey, I'll throw one at you here better than that. I got one here for you, too. My opinion, if you put Tom Brady on this Eagle offense, you think he'd win the Super Bowl? I just saw 44-year-old Phillip Rivers come off the couch, go up to Seattle, and lose by 2. And he's starting. And he's starting again on Monday night against the Niners. How many people in here think that Tom Brady at 48 could come off the bench and take that Eagle team to the Super Bowl? Huh? How many people believe that he would do that? Huh? No doubt. You ain't going to have a guy throwing behind receivers. You're not going to have a guy not seeing the field. Brady was asked the other day if he thought he could come out of the booth and lead a team. And he goes, yeah, I could do that. Hey, Pump, can you imagine? 48-year-old Tom Brady's better than Jalen Hurts right now. Silz, these dudes got battered women syndrome. No matter how much Hurts makes his fangirls look bad, they keep on letting him. Oh, man, come on, corporate B, Pump. Hey, Pump. I'm asking you, Pump, do you think Brady could come out of the booth and make that Eagle offense look better? I got this from watching Phillip Rivers. Look at 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers last night. You've got a 44-year-old guy, and you got Joe Flacco still in the game. Can you imagine Brady with that? Hey, Brady with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. This guy's never had players like that since he was in Tampa. Brady would throw for 300 yards every game. You can't hit him. Think about that. Tom Brady sitting in the booth is better than the quarterback in Philly. I mean, he's better than the quarterback. And don't say that's not true. I saw Phillip Rivers almost go out to Seattle and win a game. He hasn't been in a game in 5 years. 5 years Rivers hasn't played football. He hasn't been in an NFL game in 5 years. He threw a TD pass and almost beat the Seahawks, who's considered one of the better teams in the NFC. Okay. Seattle's offense is bad? That's not true. Seattle's offense is not bad. Don't let people like Senor tell you that the Seattle offense is bad. Seattle's offense is bad. Here, let's take a look at that. By the way, we're going to take a look at the Eagles here in a second here too. So according to Senor, Seattle Seahawks are 9th in total offense. The Seahawks are 8th in passing. The Seahawks right now they're not winning games running the ball. That's for damn sure. They're 22nd running the ball. In scoring, they're 5th. In red zone, the Seahawks are 17th. In third down, the Seahawks are 16th. Come on, man. They got the 8th best offense in football. They're bad offensively. Yeah, okay. What are they in scoring? Let me take a look at what they are in scoring. Seattle, that's a defensive football team, though. For sure, that's a defensive team. So they, just like your team, too, is a defensive football team. It's not an offensive football team. The Seahawks are scoring 28.9 points a game. That's 5th. Ooh, they're bad. That's it. Keep listening to Senor. He'll drive you off a cliff any day. Stop blaming the O-line, you lying effing fox. Jalen gets all fucking day to throw. He does. He does. Mikey, for all the Cow fans in here, last week, a 45-year-old that hadn't played in 5 years threw a TD pass to a 10-3 team versus a 10-3 team while Dak went 0-4 versus a 5-8 Vikings team. Oof, that's pretty true. That's pretty true there, man. Get this, underdog talk to us is about running stats now. Wait a minute. But you're only playing who's in front of you. The O-line is the worst in 5 years. Well, that's an Eagle problem. That's not an opposing team problem. That's a you problem. You know, just like I told you the other day, M. Reyes, that the Raiders sucking, that's not an Eagle thing. That's a Raider thing. Your O-line blowing, that's a you thing. That's on you. I mean, how long did you think it was going to last? That those guys were going to be doing that tush push and running the football 500 carries in a year? Well, how long did you think that was going to last? Like forever? They got beat up. I only like the defense on this team. Respectfully, our offense is cheeks. Rivers threw 27 passes. Hurts threw 15 in a get-right game after 4 picks. Phillip Rivers threw 27 passes, and he had thrown a pass in an NFL game. Get this. That is such a great take. Jalen Hurts has been a starting quarterback for 5 years in Philly. Last week, Hurts threw the ball 15 times. No, he had 12 completions. Phillip Rivers threw the ball 27 times and hadn't thrown a ball in a game in 5 years. In 5 years. You think, and Shane Steichen said, I need you to throw the ball almost 30 times. With a team that's got Jonathan Taylor. You don't hear that in Philly. Demanding to throw the ball. You're fucking crazy? Are you nuts? Get this. Rivers lost to the Seahawks. Yeah, I know. He lost by 2. After 5 years out of the game and only a walkthrough practice and a 7-on-7 practice. Think about that, folks. Phillip Rivers had a walkthrough practice, had a 7-on-7, 7-on-7. It came 2 points away from beating one of the top teams in the NFC coming off his couch. How you doing? Eagles defense for Seahawks offense. That'd be interesting. Yeah, well, I think your defense is improving. I do. And I'm going to make a point on something that I heard this morning on the show here. So let's see here. Seahawks haven't beat shit. Well, neither of you. Except the Rams. Really, if you look at it, Rams, the Lions will be out of the playoffs. How many playoff teams? Actually, that's a great take there, my friend. How many playoff teams do you think the Eagles will have beaten by the end of the year this year? Let's take a look at that. I like that. Thanks, A.M. Reyes. That's really good. I didn't think about that. How many playoff teams will the Eagles have beaten this year? Dallas, no. Kansas City, no. Rams. Buccaneers, that's a push. They got Carolina this weekend. So we'll say as of right now, 2. Let's see. Green Bay. Detroit's out of the playoff picture right now. Chicago. The Chargers. You've beaten 5 teams so far this year that are playoff teams. And 5 teams you've beaten. Let's see how many teams the Seahawks have beaten that are playoff teams. To M. Reyes' number. Let's take a look at that. Let's see here. NFC West. Here we go. How many people have they beaten? Let's see. They've beaten Pittsburgh. They've beaten Jacksonville. They've beaten Houston. I don't believe Indianapolis. They've beaten 3. So M. Reyes has got 2 up on Seattle. Seattle's beaten 3 teams. You've beaten 5 teams that are current playoff teams. Let's take a look at the Rams and where the Rams are this year and who they've beaten. Let's take a look at that. They've beaten Houston. They've beaten Jacksonville. I don't think Baltimore's in it. They've beaten San Francisco. They've beaten Tampa. I'm not going to give them Detroit. They've beaten 4 teams. So as of right now, the Eagles have beaten 5 teams. The Rams have beaten 4. I think that's 4. Houston, San Francisco. Let me add that again. Houston, Jacksonville, San Francisco, Seattle, and Tampa. They've beaten 5 also. Rams have beaten 5, and the Eagles have beaten 5. Sounds like everybody's pretty bunched up, like we said. Like, bunched up. This is why I said, I don't know who's getting to Santa Clara yet. Right? Silz making up his own strength of schedule. I'm not making strength of schedule up. I'm looking at a schedule, seeing who you beat. How am I making that up? You don't make things up that things you've done. How's that making it up? Rams had a first-place schedule. They won the West last year. The fuck are you talking about? And the NFC West is a tougher division than the NFC East. What are you talking about making it up? Fuck you talking about, guy? I'm looking at the schedule like anybody else can. Since the Raider game was the first game of the year where defense didn't miss a tackle. Vic is coaching him up. Okay. That's what you took away? They did their job? Yeah, I'm all right. Silz making up wins we didn't get. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Eagles lost to the Bears and Chargers. Actually, well, if you want to go down that lane, like I said, you've only beaten 2 teams in the last 10 games that have winning records. So, I mean, you're making it sound like you've beaten a bunch of good teams in the last 10 weeks. And as I've said to you, this is not made up. Fucking click and click. The Eagles have beaten playoff teams currently right now. Rams, Bucks, Green Bay, actually, I'm off. You're right. You've only beaten how many playoff teams? Rams, Bucks, Green Bay. You've only beaten 3 teams this year that are playoff teams. You're right. Not 5. It's 3. Yep. Rams, Bucks, and Packers. Rams, Bucks, and Packers. Hey, I'm Reyes. You've only beaten 3 football teams so far that have a winning record that is in the playoff race right now. How you doing? 3. I'll talk to me about a fucking tough schedule. John was talking about it today. Take a look at what they thought was going to happen with the Commanders at the end of the year. They had you lined up in the last 3 games, playing them twice. We've really been hard on Kevin Petula, but all in all, the guy is a first-year OC. He's getting a pass for – why? I'm not giving anybody a pass when you're trying to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not. So, M. Reyes says the Bills are shitty. Let's see who the Bills have beaten that are playoff teams. Let's see. They've beaten Tampa Bay. They've beaten Pittsburgh. And they've beaten New England. They've beaten 3 teams just like the Eagles have beaten 3 teams so far this year. This is why, again, we say the same thing. It's going to be a very difficult. The Lions are not in the playoff race. So, what's your take on Darius Smith's situation? Is it true or just the media reading into tweets? I didn't see what he posted. I don't know what you're talking about. Silz, your math is wrong adding games for Eagles. Recheck. Okay? I will. Schedule. Playoff teams currently in the playoffs right now. How many teams have the Eagles beaten? Rams, Bucks, Packers. That's it. 3. 3. Okay? 3. Don't be mad at me. Josh Allen sucks. Okay? If Allen sucks, Hurts is the worst QB in the league. He's trying to get Philly to release his rights to play for the Packers. Has to be a relationship up there with the coordinator or with Brian Gutekunst or somebody for him to want to do that. Why would he want to do that now? Why would he not want to play for Philly? I'd take him. Add more depth to your edge. I would take him. Green Bay doesn't want him back. He burned the bridge. You know what? I don't understand that. Maybe he had second thoughts about wanting to play. I'm surprised that Slay's still holding out like that. Slay's not going to play again. The Bills are going to be assholes to him. It's a damn shame because now he's going to sit at home and he could have helped the football team. He could have helped the Bills. I mean, they're in a different division. I don't know why he did that. He doesn't want to play. Bills are playing. They're playing piss ball with him right now. It's just the Raiders, but when was the last time the Eagles shut out someone? I think I heard 2018. But remember something. There's been 5 shutouts in the NFL today or this season. And the Raiders have been shut out twice. Silz, if the Lions went out, they could still make the playoffs. I don't think they're eliminated yet. They're not eliminated. As a matter of fact, that game, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this weekend, I think it's Green Bay and I think it's Green Bay and Detroit this weekend or Chicago. I think it's a really big ball game this week for week 16 coming up. It's Green Bay, Chicago, and Detroit may get a hall pass, but they get Pittsburgh. They got to beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's sitting at 8-6, had a pretty good outing last night. Only a couple of coaches rubbed me the wrong way. Eagles head coach and the Bills head coach. I can't stand Sean McDermott. We talk how many playoff teams we've beat. What does that matter if the Rams lose to the Panthers? No, I was commenting back to M. Reyes. I don't think it matters at all. I don't think it matters if you beat the Rams early in the year or what. 2023, you beat the Buccaneers in the early part of the season. They kicked the shit out of you in the playoffs. That's how stupid I think that is. I do. That was what he was saying. When the Cowboys beat the Raiders, this guy proclaimed them back. No, I never proclaimed them back. I said they got better. The only thing I've ever said about the Cowboys was they've gotten better with the Quinion Williams trade and with them being able to get Overshawn back and George Pickens, they got better. I never said fucking back. Back to what? Being respectable? Sure. You never heard the words Super Bowl out of my mouth ever when it came to the Cowboys. I said they might have a shot at the playoffs, and they did. And they're still not eliminated yet. Eagles beat the Commanders, they're out. Okay. It went to week 16. I thought that team wouldn't have a shot after week 10. Never said that. And I still am. Bro, he's a superior talent to your guy Hurts. Stop doing that. There's not one thing redeemingly when it comes to skill set that Jalen Hurts does better than Dak Prescott, except run. And Prescott doesn't run. It's not one thing he does as a skill set player better than Dak. He can't read. He can't set protections. he can't read progressions. Come on, man. Then again, Mac Jones is better. Then again, the fucking guy on the bench is better than Hurts at that skill set. Dude, I've never heard of a quarterback in my entire life, and it was 5th year in the NFL, that didn't know how to set protections. It's the first time I've ever seen it. So Mike Tomlin is going to go 9-8, win the division, and probably make possibly make the Super Bowl because how wide open the AFC is. The NFL is a crazy place. Man, if Mike Tomlin ends up making the Super Bowl and makes the AFC Championship game, that would be fabulous for him because I do think he needs a win. Dude hasn't won since 2016, a playoff game, and they've missed the playoffs too. I get it, 22 consecutive years of winning, all that, but that used to be a different standard in Pittsburgh. Jared Bell will join us at 3:30. Legendary man from USA Today. And also, our friend Howard Balzer will join us at 4:30. Silz, if Jalen Hurts is on the injury report today, I would take precautions, especially against the Commanders. Your thoughts? Not this first one. Win the division. Then you can make your assessment. They're not winning home field, at least in the first round. The Eagles are going to have to play 4 games to win the Super Bowl if they have to. And in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, never at any time have they gone to the Super Bowl where they didn't have the NFC Championship game in Philly. Now, that kind of history usually doesn't matter to me, but I think this year that matters a lot. I think the team that hosts the championship games are probably going to make it to the Super Bowl. Eagles have never been to the Super Bowl when they don't host the NFC Championship game. So put that in context. I don't believe that not this Commander game. I wouldn't sit him for the Commander game. I might sit him after the Bill game. Okay? Tomlin's going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Bro, if Mike Tomlin's overrated, fucking Nick Sirianni's a puppet. Roethlisberger and Marino were at that game, real quarterbacks. These guys are great quarterbacks. Can you imagine Dan Marino in today's NFL with the shitty defenses they have today? Man. And you couldn't hit the quarterback? Marino throw for 60 touchdowns today. Hurts wins against Commander this week, and then Tanner gets to cook Josh Allen. Sure, okay. So they would sit him, you think? I still think they'd want to be in the 2-hole when it comes to the playoffs. You know, I still think they'd want to try to get in that 2 spot because, the 2 best records are going to come out of the West. One of those teams is going to be in a 5-hole. If Ravens win out and Steelers lose 2 of 3, the Ravens are in. Steelers have Detroit this week and Baltimore week 18. Baltimore has Pats, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh. Wow. What a way to end the season. HKP, it might be a nearest diner in Wawa. How you doing? Not sure where we're going there, but all right. Yeah, I'm in Jersey. You want to play gangster? I'm not sure who he's talking to. How many visiting teams have won a conference championship? What's the percentage? That's the point I'm making. A lot of road teams don't win those. Like the last one I can remember that was a road team that won a conference title game and then went on to win the Super Bowl. I think it was that Patriots team that went into Kansas City and beat Mahomes. I can't think of another team that has done that in recent time. That because remember, the Patriots had to go to KC. It was the AFC Championship game. And that's when everybody started complaining about the overtime. So I think it was that. I think it was that AFC Championship game. I think it was Brady's last Super Bowl in New England that they did that too. Chief, that's right. Did the Chiefs have to go on the road this last year and do it? Chiefs had to go on the road this last year. Okay. One in Baltimore. Got it. Thanks, guys. So you're saying there's a chance. The probably is never a 0 chance. We're sure where we're going. See here. Go. Hey, listen. So let's take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm gonna make a comment that I heard from John McMullinger. By the way, guys, please hit the like button. We appreciate all you dudes. Thank you for coming in here. Everybody for coming in. I'm gonna ask you this. I heard John say this today. John said this. He goes, "You're gonna see a good metric because of what the Eagles did to the Raiders, and that's gonna skew the numbers. But then at sometimes people come in and say, you can only play who's in front of you. So which is it? You can only play who's in front of you? Or you got to put things in context. Well, that is the context. Of all the teams in the 2017 season or the 2025 season, this is what you are with the guys in front of you. A, because you have lesser teams, except for the Bills at the end of the year, I think it's all relative. This is your schedule. This is going to be who you are playing those 17 games. I think it all evens out is what I'm saying. You guys played a really tough schedule at the beginning and some in the middle. Okay? And some in the middle there. And then really you get a break at the back end. I think that really is also something that they never gave you a home and home back to back. Okay? So for me, I mean, it's all relative. You got a favorable ending because the Commanders didn't live up to being who they were, or who the NFL thought they were going to be. So I think it's relative. So far with 3 games remaining, right? With 14 games in, I think this is who you are. You can only play who's in front of you. So I'm going to use your metric. Silz, we can only play who's in front of us. So far, this is what you are. These are your metrics for 14 football games. It all evens out. Sometimes you play tougher teams in the beginning of the season. The numbers are not going to look great. Or the numbers are going to look minimal. Sometimes you get a break in the schedule. The numbers, again, start to even out. How many times have you heard Xander say, I think this team's playing like a top 10 defense? Well, maybe they are a top 10 defense. And the numbers are going to like pan out here to by the end of the year, you might be near the top 10. I said at the beginning of the year, I think you're around 15. So let's take a look at this. Okay? All right. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. You want to go offense first or do you want to go defense? Offense first or defense? I think I'm more apt to look at the defense first because I think the defense is getting better and better. So let's take a look at it. Here's the Philadelphia Eagles through 14 games. And do I believe these numbers? You're rapidly moving up the charts and getting better. At the beginning of the year, we thought you'd struggle, and you did, and now you're getting better. And the schedule is starting to even out to reflect these numbers. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't think you do. You might have bad outings against really good football teams. That's not going to be indicative of for a full 17-game schedule on how good you actually are. Everything evens out. Right now, you're the 14th best defense in football. That is a massive change from 2 months ago, where you were the 24th. You've raised yourself 10 spots in 2 months, playing against still some pretty good football teams. You're ascending. And this is even without Jalen Carter. You are by far getting better. It's a fucking great number. You went from 25 to 14th? It's fucking insane. You don't see those drastic swings. You were hanging out at 25 for the good part of the first part of the season. And you're now starting to even out. This is a 17-game sample size. There's so few of these games. 17 of them. And you've gone from 25th to 14th in total. Kudos. That guy gets a fucking raise with Timu guys. I'll agree with that. The sacks have not been very good. I agree with you, brother. The sacks have not been very good. Okay? They've not. But I think they've put on, but they proved to you a year ago, too. Hey, James. They proved to you a year ago they don't need an elite edge rusher. Okay? Let's go down. You went from around 21 to 10th in pass defense with a Dory Jackson, Keely Ringo. Let me say it again. You're now the 10th best pass defensive football team in the league with a Dory Jackson. I mean, again, kudos. Your run defense is still not very good, and that's a lack of not having Jalen Carter. Okay? That right there is still the lack of not being able to stop the run. You haven't been able to stop the run. Okay? Really pretty much all year. Got to say this too, man. Also, Epps has played much better along with Jackson. Marcus Epps has been it's a great pull by you, Chris. I saw it too. Marcus Epps has added something to the secondary, hasn't he? He stabilized the safeties. Since Makuba's injury, Marcus Epps has played a lot better. He's played a lot better football. Davis is up this game. Still, though, you're 22nd. That's not a very good number. That's not a very good number. 22nd in run defense. Here's something that's getting really good. You're 6th in scoring defense. Fucking awesome. Fucking tremendous. 14th total, 10th in pass defense, and you're 6th in total scoring defense. Can't say enough about the improvement. Red zone, you're 4th. Teams get down in the red zone, you deny them. That's championship football. You're still 3rd in third downs. You're struggling still on getting off the field. Now, let's hope that number gets better by the end of the year. Let's say you get up to 15th in the middle of the league. You can live with that. You can live with that. This is a brand new defense almost. This thing doesn't resemble anything of a year ago. And the core guys have really, they've been okay. Baughn's played great. I think Baughan has played as good as he did a year ago. I do. With all the new faces around, and you don't have really the secondary you had a year ago, let's be candid here. This defense is not better than the 2022 defense. That defense had 50 sacks. 50 sacks. They were 15th in run defense. They were number 2 in pass defense. Actually, this team is nowhere near the 2022 team. If you were going to rank the teams, obviously last year, 22, and I would put this team ahead of 23. This team's not better than 22. You can't run the ball. Your passing wasn't terrible in 22. This is. Overall, your defense, much improved. Is it playing like a top 10 defense? I didn't believe what Xander said the other day. Boy, it's starting to look like it. Starting to look like it. See how it plays out. Very encouraging. Very encouraging that the defense is where it is. And how is it descending? Kudos. That's Vic. That's Howie. That's the great coaching staff you have. It's one of the best coaching staffs. That's right. My bad. It was 70 sacks in 2022. That's right. They were a few sacks off the 85 Bear record. It was 70 that year. Thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, you're nowhere near that defense. You're nowhere near that team with this team. Then again, the league was a little better in 22. I don't really think the league is that good this year. I think he's been up and down and spotty all year. Raiders versus Texans, another nothing burger for Las Vegas. They've already got the U-Hauls packed. So let's go to the Eagle offense. So again, I think your defense is playing really well. They're playing really well. They really are. Okay? They're playing really well. Kudos. Okay? Bro, I give it where it needs to be. They are playing well. By the way, my friend, if I sat here and fucking glazed donut all day, we would be lying to you. You know you haven't played that hot all year. But the defense is definitely getting better. Okay? Big Silz is real. Fuck the haters. Thank you, bro. Appreciate that. I love that. Let me see that picture again. Where's that picture? Look at that. Look at Big Silz. What is that with the pic? What is that? Look at that picture there. Just an Eagle fan. Look at that. I might have to borrow that for my X account. Look at that. That thing's fire. Look at that, man. How you doing? I don't think I've ever done that before, but that thing looks dope, and I'm good with it. All right. Let's get to the other side now. Let's get to your offense. So, again, in closing, I'm going to keep that up there. In closing, good job, man, on the defense. It really is getting better. Howie really worked hard at that, and so did Vic. And it might be paying off as you get closer to the playoffs. This looks good, man. Very encouraging. All right. Offense. Let's take a look at this. You're 22nd in offense. You've improved from the 27th worst passing offense to the 22nd best offense in football passing-wise. You've improved 5 spots. You're now 22nd in passing with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. You're 19th in rushing, which is terrible for that team to have Saquon Barkley on it, and you're 19th. That's brutal. Scoring, you're 18th. You're in the middle of the room, kind of. You're first in red zone. That's tush push. Short yardage. And you've improved from 27th to 23rd in third down. So, overall, your offense is completely underachieved all year long. And it's been so up and down. And you've only really had great games against Minnesota, Giants #2, and against the Raiders. The rest of these games have been spotty at best. It's the most underachieving offensive football team of any playoff team. The Broncos are better than you. I mean, to some extent, the Texans are better. offensively. The Eagles have severely underachieved this year. You're winning football games because your defense is getting better, and they're keeping you in the ball game. Your offense is just completely underachieving. It's just not very good. Okay? Silz, I'm smart enough to know some teams are 80 yards away from being the number 5 best offense. Relax with the ranking because it's not that deep. Bro, your offense is – are you going to try to sit there and tell me you think your offense is in the conversation of being one of the better offenses in pro football? How about this? Your offense is not – let's just say it is the gap between 15 and 20. You're not even in that. You're not that hot on offense. That Raider game didn't tell you how good you are. The only thing that you've got is the Raider game, the Giant game, number 2, and Minnesota. The rest of them you were not very good in. Do you think the Eagles could trade her? No. He has a no trade. Dude, anytime, guys, from now on, we might have to put an asterisk up here. Anytime you talk about trading Jalen Hurts, okay, he has no trade. By the way, here's the real deal about 2026 coming up. This is the first year Jalen's making $51 million. Where the base kicks in. 2026 is where the money starts hitting the cap. Is this coming season? Like, remember that contract was, they put that signing bonus up front and they front-ended it with the signing bonus. 2026, 27, you're going to see substantial cap hits. Guys are going to have to be jettisoned off that team. You're already like, with back money, you owe like $400 million that you're going to have to adjust with more void years, more signing bonus money, cutting players, trading players. Hurts' contract kicking in at 51. That's 2026. You see, 2026 wasn't just for Jalen Carter. It was the money that is now owed and Hurts' contract kicking in. Jalen Hurts' contract officially kicks in 2026 season when they turn the calendar and they get ready for the 26th season. Jalen Hurts starts making $51 million base. Nothing to do with signing bonuses. And money's now 26 and 27. Substantial cap hits. Okay? I mean, and that's your dude. That dude will take a – no, he – why? Yeah, you think Nicole Lynn in Clutch Sports is going to go to Jeffrey Lurie and go, we'll take a pay cut. They're fucking drunk. Silz, would Lurie see how much the void money climb up and give him a problem or make him think of Howie some way? Silz, would Lurie see how much the void money climb up, give him a problem or make him think of Howie some way? I'm not sure where you're going with that there, my friend. But the void years, you got to start adding more void years to some of these contracts. Silz, I got to believe that Lane comes back. He knows his days are limited. He will ball out and Saquon's numbers will improve. No, they weren't. They weren't running the ball when he was in the game. Bro, the problem with your offensive line wasn't your tackle play. It was your entire interior play. It was the center and 2 guards. Hey, dude, I hear people saying this, and I completely disagree. I don't think Tyler Steen has been that hot this year. I think he's been a dude. He's played well. I see guys throwing him around every game. I don't really see anything special out of him. I think he's a guy. Very replaceable. I would never give that guy a contract extension. No fucking way. I get another guy in there. Dude, Cam Jurgens was a better guard. Isaac Sayamano's a better guard. I mean, I think your center two guard play. And Landon's been injured. So I give him the pass. I don't think Steen's been that hot. I think he's been a dude. I don't see exceptional over there. Exceptional are your two tackles, your left guard. Jurgens has a lot to earn back in equity, but he deserves it because of what happened a year ago. But Steen's been okay. Well, he's graded well. Okay, he's graded well. I've seen guys beat him. I think he's been pretty good in pass protection. Okay? Jalen knows he can't win without all the talent around him. Jesus Christ, Silz. Listen, I got it. I like betting. Let's see someone throw Becton around. No one's throwing Becton around. Solid O-line, hard to come across. Absolutely true. And that's a good point on Steen. Even a good offensive line or a good offensive line player, those guys are hard to find too. It's a good point. I agree. I completely agree. Finding a decent guy. New York Giants have been looking for a decent guy outside of the left tackle they have. I agree. Howie will get us 2 new tackles and a replacement wide receiver after he trades A.J. Brown. That's a lot of moving parts in the offseason then on offense. So you're going to get Lane's replacement. You're going to get A.J.'s replacement. You're going to do Goddard's replacement too? So you're going to lose A.J. and Goddard in the offseason. Is that what you're saying? Man, that's a lot. And Lane? Whew. That's a lot of people, man. Silz, what I meant is the more money that gets held up in void years, give Laurie something to think about. Would he feel threatened if the void year money climbs up to $600-700 million? Depends on what the payout is. If you're winning Super Bowls and you're in the NFC Championship game every year and you're getting return on investment with your play, you know what? Remember something, Abe. Here's the thing about owners and money and spending it to win. At what point does it get to a point where you think you're spending too much money to win? These guys, you're in the NFL business to make money. You're not in the NFL business to win titles. Why do you think these owners bought these teams? For what? The Lombardi Trophy? They create economic wealth, generational wealth. The most important thing that an owner can do to a fan base is what? Not deliver a Super Bowl, deliver a new stadium. They're wealth enhancement programs. Go back and take a look at when Jeffrey Lurie bought the Eagles. You guys were playing in Veterans Stadium, right? Take a look at what his net wealth was and how much he paid for the Eagles. 94, Jeffrey Lurie bought the Eagles. I think he bought the Eagles for $195 million. The thing's worth $8 billion now. And that's because of the Lincoln Financial. Lincoln Financial, you guys gave him a wealth enhancement program. You expedited the wealth of the team. Why do you think that Josh Harris wants a new stadium on the grounds of RFK? It'll double the salaries of Josh Harris and the wealth because he gets a new stadium. He didn't buy the Eagles for $400 million. He bought the Eagles for $195 million. You're selling hope in exchange for money. The NFL is a business, not a sport for the owners. Yeah, look, no, I think there's owners I do think Lurie wants to win. You start spending $400-500 million and you got it in the void years, and you start going like this. What's my return on investment? Getting knocked out in the wild card? That's why with a guy like Sirianni, getting knocked out in a wild card, when you put that kind of money up front, bro, that's unacceptable. That's acceptable in Jacksonville. And Shade Khan's got more money than Jeffrey Lurie. Do you know that? Shade Khan, the owner of the Jags, is richer than Jeffrey Lurie. And so is David Tepper. David Tepper has more money, owner of the Carolina Panthers. He's Stan Kroenke's got more money. Stan Kroenke knew he couldn't build a stadium. Guess what Stan Kroenke did? Stan Kroenke, the owner of the Rams, he knew he was not going to get Bonds or city people to vote for a new stadium in Los Angeles. He fucking opened up his Walmart checkbook and wrote it and did it himself. And the Chargers have to pay a dollar a year in rent. I mean, these owners, man, this is a business, guys. This is a huge business. Winning the Lombardi. That's WWE talk for them. Hey, the fans want us to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying Jeffrey Lurie doesn't. I do believe he does. But that's an economic investment. Bro, owning an NFL team like it was in the 80s, that was a hobby. These are gigantic businesses today. Silz, what's a good year for the Eagles going forward? Does the team need to make the title game? It's a good call. I think you got to make the NFC Championship game for it to be a successful season. Anything after that, you win another Super Bowl, awesome. I told you in the next 3 years you're going to win a Super Bowl. Okay? Yeah. He bought the team for $195 million, I believe, in 1994, if my recollection's right. He bought it from Norman Brayman for $195 million. And Jerry Jones had bought the Cowboys in 1989 for $154 million. So the Eagles, I mean, now look at it. It's worth $8 billion. And it's because you gave them Lincoln Financial that expedited the economics. It's a wealth enhancement program, what you guys did. Anytime you guys give these owners a arena or stadium, bro, they're not looking to win the Lombardi Trophy or the Larry O'Brien. They're looking to fucking get wealth enhancement by getting an arena. Or what's the first thing owners want to do when they buy a team? Get a new stadium. Get renovations on a stadium. Get a new arena. Look at what Josh Harris is doing. Josh Harris is getting a new stadium, and Josh Harris is getting a new arena. Do you understand that he's going to pay for his investment of the Sixers and the Commanders just in those two transactions? He's putting it on you. And people look at it and go like this, well, that's the business of football. Fucking A, it's the business of football. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look, here. I'll show you something here. Let me give you guys a little education here. Then we'll move on here. Bob Kraft, does he want to win Super Bowls? Absolutely. Does Pagula, the owner of the Bills? I'm not sure. I don't see them spending a lot of money. Now, they just bought, and get this, Pagula got a brand new stadium. So he paid off for his investment by getting a new stadium, which opens up next year. I haven't seen Pagula show me any signs that he wants to win a Super Bowl. Stephen Ross doesn't want to win. Woody Johnson's a fucking jerk. Do I think the Rooneys do? I do. Do I think Biscotti does? I do. Ravens. Do I think Mike Brown does? No. Do I think Haslam in Cleveland? No. Do I think the guy in Jacksonville? No. Do I think the family that owns the Texans, the McNair family? No. Do I think the Ursays? No. Do I think the Titans family? No. That's the Adams family. Do I think the new ownership in the Denver? I do. That's the Walmart guys. Chargers, the Spanoses? No. The Kansas City Chiefs? Yeah, I'm gonna make a point here. The Raiders? No. The Eagles for sure, Lori. The Cowboys? I'm not sure anymore. I don't believe so. Josh Harris? No. The Giants? No. The Bears? No. The Packers? Packers don't really have a family. The Lions? No. Minnesota? Ziggy Wilf? No. The Bucks, the Glazers, I do. Panthers, David Tepper? No. Arthur Blank, Falcons? No. Gail Benson? No. You ever notice since the old man died? They've been terrible. Kroenke, I do believe. 49ers, I do believe. And Arizona, no. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 owners in pro football that want to win the Super Bowl every year. And Jeffrey Lurie's one of them. The rest of them, kind of, maybe a little. If it doesn't cost me too much money, yeah. Seattle, I'll throw Seattle in there. I'll throw Seattle in there. Yep, I'll put Seattle. Bucks for sure. Bucks just won one 5 years ago, jackass. They pushed all their chips in when Brady came down, and they brought Brady into the mix and convinced them to come to Tampa, that they'd open up the credit card, put it on the table, and they did. This is the first time I agree with Silz about these owners. Yeah, hey, dude, there's 9 owners in the league that want to win. Okay? Okay? So when they went all in on Brad Johnson and they went all in on Jon Gruden, that counts too, right? I'm not hollering at you, James. They went all in on Brad Johnson and Jon Gruden. It pushed all their chips. Remember, they gave 3 first-rounders for John. Remember that's what they did? It is. It's a wealth enhancement program. And get this. They make you pay for it with bonds. I mean, there's 9 owners in pro football who want to win. And by the way, take a look at the playoff race. Let's take a look at that for a minute. I'm making a point here to you guys. Look, I named those Seattle, Patriots, Pittsburgh. Let's see. Pittsburgh, Seattle, Pats, Rams, Kroenke, Kansas City, right? 49ers, Tampa Bay, Chargers. I didn't say the Chargers. I said the Rams. So let's take a look at this. Playoffs. NFL playoff picture. Let's take a look at how many owners here that we just mentioned. Let's see. AFC side. Broncos, Patriots, Steelers. 3 right now want to win. NFC. Kroenke, Eagles, Glazers, Seattle, 49ers. You can make the Packers. 6 of the 7 owners want to win in the NFC. That's by clockwork every year. You're going to have 4 or 5 owners in the A. That's a down number because the quarterbacks got hurt and Kansas City got hurt, because I do believe that Kansas City wants, the Hunt family wants to win. But dude, there's 9 owners in the league every year that want to win a Super Bowl, that care to win. The rest of these teams don't give a shit. They treat you like you're WWE. They make you think that. Jerry Jones got his Super Bowls. He's set. Now it's about creating this aura about the team. The Dallas Cowboys are the richest franchise. Get this. How does this happen? The Dallas Cowboys are the richest franchise in professional sports in the world. And they haven't won shit in 32 years. That's the magic of Jerry. He's got his 3 rings. Now it was all about the brand. That thing right there, that star, has nothing to do with winning. He don't give a shit about winning. He kind of wins. I mean, he kind of wins. Yep, for Harris is in a rebuilding and learning the ropes. Well, look, James, he's getting the Philadelphia people gave him a new arena for the Sixers. and he got a new stadium that he's going to get for Washington. Do you understand? He's going to get a $4 billion arena, and he's going to get a $6 billion stadium. Fuck, dude, that pays for his investment of the Washington Redskins. He paid it off in getting stadiums and arenas. And off your back. They think he really gives a shit about winning? Sure, okay. It's the same organizations every year for sure, Silz. You do got a point. The teams that go out in free agency either want to win the chip or create wealth from cash flow. That's right. That's a correct comment. Look at the Bengals. The Bengals are never in. That's why I asked the question to you. What the fuck are the Bengals doing with Joe Burrow? You kind of are fooling. It's like a false narrative. You're creating this thing with Joe Burrow like you're going to win because you pay 3 players and you jettison everybody on defense. You're not really trying to win. Can you imagine Howie Roseman? Howie Roseman would be a failure. He'd be Duke Tobin, the GM there now. Howie wouldn't win in Cincinnati. Howie wouldn't win in New York with the Jets. Howie wouldn't win in Miami. Miami hasn't won a playoff game in 11 years. Do you realize that? They haven't won a playoff game in 11 years. Steve Ross don't give a shit. And he just got $375 million to retrofit Hard Rock. Come on, man. So what's the price to win? Great question. The price to win is you get a bad schedule. You get the first pick. Hey, eventually, you ever notice this? Ask yourself something about the Jags. How many years has the Jaguars picked in the top 5 in the last 15 years? 15 years. How many times do you think the Jags have picked in the top 15? Or the top 5 last 15 years? 12? Where are they? This is the first year I remember they're in the mix to actually be a good football team. I mean, eventually, after all those picks, something's got to click. Get a good coach in, what have you. Most of the guys are on rookie deals. You're not paying a shitload of money to a lot of people except the quarterback right now. Dude, there's 8 or 9 owners that care. There's about 10 owners that kind of care. And the other 12 owners, they don't give a shit. Would you hire Mike McDaniel as OC? No, because it's too complex an offense for Hurts. Mike McDaniel needs to go to some place like Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers. And I'm just saying, I know they got guys there. Los Angeles with Stafford. Kansas City with Burrow. He needs somebody like that. He runs a high complex route scheme offensive approach. Philadelphia runs none of that. They're not looking for a high-powered offensive coordinator. That's why a training wheels OC works. A training wheels OC works in Philly because they don't run complex schemes. It's very basic. I mean, Mike McDaniel is a high-end offensive savant type coordinator. You got to have a guy who understands passing concepts, reading of defenses, spotting landmines out there, your point of reference on who's blitzing. Detroit would be another place. Maybe the Cowboys. Dak's a complex system reader. Maybe somebody like that. Seattle. I think Darnold can do it. Patriots with Drake May. Hey, one thing is for sure about the Patriots and Drake May. Dude, Josh McDaniels runs a very – you know why Josh McDaniels sucked as a head coach? Why do you think Josh McDaniels sucked as a head coach? Look at the quarterback he was coaching. Look at the places that he went to try to be a coordinator. They had no quarterback. They had nobody that was going to be able to read his type of offense. Why do you think John Gruden never had a rookie quarterback ever until he had Derek Carr? Name me a first-round draft choice that John Gruden ever coached. Can you name me one? Name me one. Name me one OC or one quarterback that was drafted in the first round that John Gruden coached. Can you? Can you name me one? Because you got to have an understanding of offense. You've got to have an understanding of complex systems and reading of defenses. His plays are so complex. I've seen them write them up. And listen, well, if the quarterback's playbook is too complicated, again, that's why, again, you see guys like John Gruden. You know why John Gruden doesn't fit today in today's NFL? John Gruden doesn't fit in today's NFL because of that complex playbook of his. A lot of these guys are dual threat guys. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. Dude, there's a lot of improvising and off schedule stuff. John Gruden doesn't like anything off schedule. He likes to control the narrative with that offensive approach. In today's NFL, the majority of these quarterbacks go off schedule. That's what makes them different than it was back in the day. All right. One of my favorite people, by the way, we get, of the 50 people that are Hall of Fame voters, let me say this to you, man. We get Armando Salguero, who's a dear friend of mine, went to school with him when he was down in Miami. We both went to the University of Miami together. Howard Balzer, who was on later at 4:30. Love Howard. And also Jason Cole. These are some of my favorite people. You know why? They're caretakers of my sport. These guys care about the game and who goes into that place in Canton. My uncle's in that place, Andy Robustelli. He's in that place. These are caretakers of my sport. There's only 300 plus players in the history of the game. They're the one percenters of the one percenters. And by the way, before I bring Jared on, I found out something from all my friends. What a tough task he has this year, because now they're counting votes, which means there's probably going to only be 2 or 3 dudes that may end up making it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. All that, our friend, but without a doubt, he does a fabulous job with USA Today, and he is one of the caretakers of our sport, and he is my friend. He is Jared Bell. He joins us now, and we appreciate you doing that. Thank you so much, Jared. Thank you so much for doing this, my friend.
What's up, Sileo? How you doing?
All good. Am I right? Am I hearing Cole right and all these guys? This year it's going to be an even tougher task because now you're vote counting on percentages that doesn't carry over now, where you're even going to have a smaller group of Hall of Famers potentially going in this year than you've ever had.
Yeah, I mean, last year's class was small and one of the smallest definitely in the last 20 years. And we thought, okay, that can't happen again. And you're right, when you kind of just consider the math and the process. See, here's what's happened here in the last couple of years. They've changed the process. We've always had separate categories for coaches and seniors and contributors, and they'll be voted on separately. But even in those categories, it's going to be difficult for all of the finalists. Well, all of the finalists can't get in by the math, right?
Yeah.
And so out of the 5 finalists from those other categories, only 3 could get in. And then when you start talking about the modern day guys, to your point, the percentages make it very, very difficult. I think, Dan, that it should be difficult to get into the Hall of Fame. But to your point, there's only 300 and something people in it, and the NFL is over 100 years old. And part of that, that number, that wide gap, is because the Hall of Fame didn't exist until 1963. And so those early years were spent just really going back, 50 years or whatever to get, or 40, whatever, 40 something years to get the people who kind of founded and built the game from the start. So anyway, all of that to say, you're right. It's going to be tough. And not only that, Sileo, it's like when you sit there and you've got the ballot. I turned my latest one in today, and you have to consider a wide receiver against a guard, or a kicker against the cornerback. It can be so tough just to pare it down. So I'm just as interested as anyone to see what the slate of finalists will look like when they announce it in a couple of weeks.
You know what? One more thing on this before we get into today's NFL. Here's my problem, and you correct me on this, and I don't know if you're on the senior with Rick Gosselin and those guys, but for me, Paul Zimmerman back in the day, or any of those great guys back in the day that were covering the sport. Now, look, I know there was racism with certain guys not allowing them into the game because you had a lot of different views and opinions of certain things that maybe people got overlooked. So we've got to be very careful of that on who we go back and take a look at. So I do understand that. But if guys like Paul Zimmerman and guys like that were in the time watching a guy that they thought wasn't a Hall of Famer, how do you change history and say, well, today they are a Hall of Famer? Isn't that kind of like a funny thing where you didn't see him play, and the guys that didn't think they were, but you do now?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and it really comes into play when you talk about the seniors nominees, no doubt. And so, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the Hall of Fame was first established in 1963. So the 60s definitely represented a different time. And then on top of that, you had the AFL merging with the NFL. And so there was a bias against the AFL. Yeah. So you had those factors. And so I hear what you're saying, because so many of these players who are seniors, and by the way, Andy Robustelli, he deserves to still be in the Hall of Fame.
Former MVP, by the way, and there's his jersey back there. Let's
get that out the way. But to your point, it really does kind of weigh on me when there are guys who I did not see play, and I'm trying to ascertain just their worthiness. A few years ago, I guess it's been about 5 years now, when we had the mega centennial class, and it was great. They had a special blue ribbon committee. They had me on it, but there were some other people in that room that were really good in that they saw people. And then even like Bill Belichick was on it. And as you might expect, he went back and watched film on guys from the 30s, the real grainy film from the 30s and 40s and stuff like that. But that always makes it difficult when you try to compare one era to the next. But to your bottom line point about Dr. Z, rest in peace, loved him, what a man, and what a reporter, and what a great gift to our committee for so many years. But if guys like that didn't see certain people Hall of Fame worthy, so be it. Politics have always been part of it. You could look at some of the guys and question, well, why did this guy get in and that guy didn't? One example being with the Dolphins, and I'm not picking on anybody, but Kuchenberg versus Jim Langer. And, it's been stated, well, Kuchenberg was better than Langer. Well, if he was, why did Langer get in? And the thing that I heard, and this is just me pass along hearsay, is that, well, they wanted both of them in, and they thought Kuchenberg was a slam dunk, so they pushed for Langer, and he got in. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be. But, to your point, it is a hard job. Anybody, when I got on this thing about 28 years ago, or whatever it was, I said, hey, anybody can pick the Hall of Famers. Well, if that's Joe Montana and Ronnie Lott and Bruce Smith, yeah, anybody can do that. Some tough decisions, nonetheless.
All right, I got you here, man. So let's go down the list. We're based in Philly. What do you make of the Eagles this year? They took a blowtorch to that defense, 5 new starters off that Super Bowl that they had when they pounded the Kansas City Chiefs. And I really think Vic's done a great job. They're trending up. I don't know what I take away from the Raider game. I mean, the Raiders didn't even want to get off the bus. That's as bad a Raider team as I've ever seen. But this year, I mean, it's been up and down. Hurts hasn't had that great a season this year. What's your takeaway? Are they in the mix here? Because there's so many teams this year. Jared, I said this. I go, I don't know who's going to get to Santa Clara this year. I mean, this is one of those years I have no idea. Give me your takeaway on the Eagles this year so far.
Yeah, it's kind of like week to week, right? But,
yeah,
beating the Raiders, whoever they brought to the Philadelphia Eagles last week, I mean, it was a confidence boost. So they lucked out in that it was a Raiders team that they knew that they could beat and really walked in, like you said, without much of a chance. But here's what I make of them. There's still time. I didn't like the narrative the last couple of weeks where people were comparing it to the collapse of a couple, 3 years ago. I think that's so unfair because the circumstances are always different. But that being said, it is a different team. The offensive line not as consistent, obviously, as it was. Saquon in the running game not as consistent. They've held it together on defense for the most part. So they still have a chance. But the Los Angeles Rams, you start talking about teams that in that NFC field that are going to be, in the way of anybody wanting to get to the Super Bowl. I don't know if I see Philadelphia matching up with the Rams yet, but there's a month left in the regular season. And when you start talking about a couple of things, injuries obviously being a factor, and teams finding their confidence, finding their rhythm down the stretch, as we've seen at different points of history. You go back to Eli Manning and the Giants, and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers as a wild card. So Jerome Bettis and the Steelers that year they won. So there's still time for this to happen for not only the Eagles, but for a couple of other teams that are, really trying to position themselves to get in.
I'm so happy we have you on here because I wanted to hear your opinion on Hurts. I've said this before. I don't believe you have to have a spectacular quarterback to get to a Super Bowl. I mean, I've seen Jimmy Garoppolo get there. I've seen Jake Delhomme get there. I saw Nick Foles win one a couple years ago, and I'm not suggesting he's not spectacular. What I'm suggesting is that I think he's perfect for what they're asking him to do. Don't turn the football over. But why is there this conversation of the guy's a winner? He's limited here. They don't really have a high complex offense. It's not something you see. And the reason I was talking John Gruden, and they were talking Mike McDaniel. Do you think he'd be a good OC for Jalen Hurts? I'm like, no, those are pass route concepts that would just not fit Philly. I think that's not a good fit. And so give me, I guess the long question. How do you see him? I mean, what do you see with Jalen Hurts here?
Yeah, I don't see the Jalen Hurts we saw in LA a couple of weeks ago. That was such an aberration for him to have those turnovers. And so, the first half of the season, I remember looking and he had like one or two turnovers or whatnot. So that's typically what you get from Jalen Hurts. And here's the other thing that makes him special for them, right? It's when you think of all the drama in Philly, right? This guy has the temperament that deals with all of that. And that's something that, you really can't put on a stat sheet, but it's really, it's the essence of Jalen Hurts for that Eagles team. When you think about all the different stuff that goes on and somebody kind of has to keep everybody on the same, page and whatnot, he's able to do that. And, oh, by the way, he can hurt you with his legs. He's tough. He can make the throws, so on and so forth. So, no, they don't have to have a high-powered offense, but basically they just have to keep their heads together and not have situations where they hurt themselves with turnovers. And so that's why he's been good. That's why he'll still have a chance once they get to the playoffs. But it's just going to be so much more difficult this time around because we haven't seen the consistency yet. So can they catch fire in the last month? It's possible. But, yeah, like I said, consistency is something that you really, really want to see from them and any team, obviously.
I'm going to ask you a hard question because you hang around the Ravens a lot. If you had to win a 60-minute football game, would you take Lamar Jackson or would you take Jalen Hurts if everything was equal?
That's pretty good. I'd probably still take Lamar.
I do like the probably, though.
Yeah. And this has not been a good year for Lamar. Once he got hurt and even, he came back and, it's just thrown him so much out of rhythm for what we know that he can be at his best, that it's, maybe this week I take Jalen Hurts. Okay. So Lamar has not been the same guy. The one thing with Lamar that, you are always concerned about, if you're, a Ravens fan or follower, as great as he is at improvising and doing things with his legs and can kill you in an instant, maybe he holds on to the ball a little bit too much, or a little too long sometimes. And so that's one of those things. But great question. I just think, all things being equal, when they're at their best, I'd take Lamar Jackson. But the Lamar Jackson this year isn't the best Lamar Jackson that we've seen.
Let me tell you what, I kicked my school's ass every single year down at Miami for not bringing that kid's rear end over to the U. Believe me. I mean, I talked to all them dudes down there, and I go back and forth with him. I love him. I love what he does in the Baltimore community. I see him all the time with kids. He is so spectacular and a great face of the NFL. I mean, I just absolutely love the guy. Do you think there needs to be a change in Baltimore with John Harbaugh?
I don't know if I'd say I think there needs to be a change, but it's a lot like Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, where, these coaches have been there for so long and they've been, consistent winners for so long, or in the mix most years, right? And so there's that question. I don't know if you dump it all on Harbaugh, but you definitely have some ammunition when you talk about, even before this year. Like I said, this year was thrown off so much by the injuries, and they still have a chance. But when you go back over the past 2 or 3 years and how many blown leads they've had, and how many situations that they've had when you thought they should have closed out games and they were not able to, well, that does fall on the head coach. But I think it'll be an interesting conversation in the offseason, especially if the Ravens don't catch the Steelers and win the division.
Let me tell you, you mentioned Mike Tomlin. I've got a couple guys. Carl Dunbar's a D-line coach, and Alfredo Roberts, who I played with at the University of Miami, are on that coaching staff. And, man, I'll tell you what, Mike Tomlin's my favorite coach in the NFL. He puts people on blast. The Pouncey brothers, man, will tell you that, Mike don't care who you are, how much money you make. It's all in there. And I got to believe this reminds me a little of Tony Dungy. I know it's a little longer than when Coach Dungy was at Tampa, but Coach Dungy was on my show a couple of weeks ago, and he goes like this. Jim Irsay called me 5 minutes after I got fired from Tampa and the Glazers, and we worked it out without an agent, and I had the Colts job within about an hour and a half. Within the end of my show, he was the head coach of the Colts. How are you looking at this thing with Tomlin here? 22 consecutive years. We're talking of not losing. 23 years. They've been the gold standard, the Steelers, on how you don't change coaches. They haven't had a coaching change since we put a man on the moon in 1969. There's been more popes. Jared, there's been more popes and presidents in the United States and in the world than they have head coaches in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Do you think he stays? Or do you think he does the walk and go, you know what? Maybe it is time for a change in a new direction for me.
I think he stays. Obviously, there's still season left to see how all of this turns out. But I think the fact that he was able to lure Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh was just, a stroke of Tomlin's genius, right?
Yeah.
And so they'll have another quarterback next year, unless Aaron Rodgers decides, hey, I think I do want to come back again. But we'll talk about that in another month or so. But the point, to your point, if Mike Tomlin leaves the Steelers, he'll get a phone call. Hey, what do you want to do? Right. And, I had one NFL owner tell me a few years ago that when Tomlin was, having some arrows slung at him, that, hey, I'd hire him in a minute. So I know if one owner told me that, there's probably 10 or 15 others that probably would do the same, especially if they had an opening. So I don't think, Tomlin's young enough, so age is not an issue with him. He's that guy. Now, I had Art Rooney tell me that when you think about the organizational philosophy it's pretty much like, as the record shows, we just don't like to blow things up because then you're starting all over again. And so if we see a problem and they've not won these playoff games in 8-9 years or whatever, so their philosophy has always been, let's just support the coach and try to fix what the weakness is. The problem is, in the NFL, that weakness this week might be something else next month and next season and so on and so forth. So, I think when all of the talk kind of generated after they lost to Buffalo, and what an ugly loss that was. Right?
Huge loss.
And the people, and I was there that day, and the people were yelling, fire Tomlin, fire, that sort of thing. The Steelers pretty much put the word out that, we're not going to fire Mike Tomlin, and if he wants to go, it'll be his decision. And so, that's some real support when you talk about everybody really just trying to generate that narrative. And what's happened since then, they've won 2 games in a row. I don't know if they'll win in Detroit this week, but there's still the opportunity for them to go ahead and win this division.
Very Mike Tomlin. Here the Heat, and I don't blame him, and he goes out and wins 2 ball games. That's Mike Tomlin for you there. I want to throw another name at you here, and we had Coach Bowles on the program about a month ago, and I love Todd Bowles. I love his demeanor. I love everything about the guy. But I'm going to read something to you here. So when he took the team over in 2022, they were 8-9. They lost in a wild card. 23, they were 9-8. They lost in a divisional game. Last year, they were 10-7. They lost in a wild card. And right now, they're currently at 7-7. And they've won 2 of 6 in the last 8 ball games. I know they gave him a contract extension, but to give reference to the Glazers, if you remember right, at the end of 2007, the Glazers gave Gruden a 3-year contract extension. He came back in 2008. They had a slide at the end. They fired his ass.
Yeah.
So to me, I mean, do you think these next 3 games, Coach Bowles, if they lose the South, there could be some trouble there in Tampa for him?
I think that's a fair question, and I think it's a possibility because every year in the NFL, you'll get these situations where you think it's not possible. So just from that standpoint, nothing that I've heard that would suggest that they're ready to move on from him. But the way this season has gone, there are red flags. And the one thing, I think when they lost Mike Evans, that was a big loss, not just because we know he's a great player who can still make plays, consistently, but just the fact that, he's the glue to that passing game. And so that was a huge loss that they've had to kind of deal with. He's back now, but that was major. But the other thing that I think just really strikes me as I watch the Bucs from week to week has been what's up with the defense.
No doubt.
I mean, that was just always their ticket. You being a former D lineman, I mean, you know kind of what the reputation the Bucs have built over so many years. And for that to collapse in the fashion that it did, and you can go back to the Buffalo game where they got in a shootout and, letting, Josh Allen has done this to a lot of people, but still just, not being able to, to control the game and to, protect leads and stuff. And so that thing the other night against Atlanta, I mean, that was just so unbuck-like just because of the way it went down. Not the fact that the Falcons beat them, even though that's another kind of miracle, but the fact that the Bucs defense couldn't really come through in the clutch. So, and the Falcons sure tried to help them.
They sure did. They gave him 14 penalties or 19 penalties, if I'm not mistaken, in that ball game here. What'd you make of Phillip Rivers coming off the bench? And by the way, folks, he takes his name off the Hall of Fame ballot. So that means, again, I mean, he waited 5 years. This guy comes off the Cheetos couch. He goes into a football game. He goes up to Seattle. Jared, I thought he was going to beat him in Seattle. This is one of the teams that are going to be fighting out for the Rams on Thursday night for the NFC West. And what'd you make of that thing?
Yeah. They should have won the game, right?
They should have won the game.
Yeah, when you think, they went down and got the field goal and the way it went down at the end in just a few seconds. So I think Phillip Rivers has always been one of the game's just premier competitors, right? So we know that. I don't think any of us would imagine that he was going to be able to come off the couch, but he is fresh, right? he hadn't run around, hadn't taken any hits in 5 years. He knows the offense and all of that. So that's pretty amazing. So his Hall of Fame candidacy, they took him off the ballot. He'll now be eligible, assuming that this is his last year. He'll be eligible again in like 2031. So this might actually help his Hall of Fame candidacy, moving forward, because it's going to also depend on, who else retires between now and then and all of that. But, for this year's class, you've got, Eli Manning back in the mix, and then you got Drew Brees as a first ballot guy. So it was going to be difficult in any event for Phillip Rivers to go into the Hall of Fame this year. But I don't think that was the driving force for him at all. As we know, it was the opportunity to come back and let me see if I can do this again, right? And remember, Tom Brady was, Aaron Rodgers is 42, Tom Brady was 40, whatever. So, 40 is almost like the new 30 when it comes to NFL quarterbacks. Not for D linemen or O linemen or running backs, but for quarterbacks, yeah. And then I saw T.O.'s comment. It's like, see, everybody thought I was crazy for saying I wanted to come back at 50. Yeah, he was, but still.
Yeah. Couple last questions here for you, Jared. Well, let me ask you a fun question. You think Brady could come out of the booth and win a football game at 48?
Yeah, I do.
I do too, man. I do too.
I think if he wanted to, because he's got all that pliability in his arm and stuff, right? So yeah, I think he could.
Maybe the plastic surgery would get in the way. I don't know. Anyway, so that's just another day here. How about this here? The Rams, of all the threats to come out of the NFC, what team do you like right now? Sean McVay has that football team. It looks like Matthew Stafford's playing as good as he possibly can, and it played maybe even better than he did when they won the Super Bowl. Devontae Adams is probably going to be an issue for them moving forward. They're saying that he might be able to play Thursday night against Seattle. Is the Rams, is that the team to beat, in your opinion, in the NFC?
Yeah, I do. And I think, Green Bay losing Micah Parsons was so huge because he was the piece that they needed for all of that. So that's bad. And then when you look at, Seattle, maybe that's a big threat, or San Francisco might be a threat. These teams in their own division, right? But I'm not buying the Bears as being that team that can go into LA. But I will say this: having home field advantage in the NFC is not going to be the advantage that it's probably going to be with the Denver Broncos in the AFC. We've seen teams come into LA and they bring like all their fans with them because it's just that's a LA kind of thing that happens, right? And so, I think the Rams are that team because they're balanced, especially on offense, right? I mean, their defense is pretty good, but that's the thing that probably gives you a little caution about them. You saw what the Detroit Lions did. Detroit Lions probably would be viewed as a threat to go in there and win, as they did for a couple, 3 quarters the other day, but they're not probably even going to be in the playoffs this year. Maybe they will still get in, but I think the Rams is that, the Rams would be that team. I mentioned Denver. I think that home field advantage in the playoffs in general, not as big as it used to be. I think the bye week probably is more of a factor when you have to win just 2 games to get to the Super Bowl, right? But the Broncos have, shown us that they've grown through the season, especially on offense, and what we saw the other day with Bo Nix. But that defense has been good all the time. And so, will they have the running game to, close out a game if they need to? That still has to be proven because they lost J.K. Dobbins. But, they've got the rookie in there, and they've got the great defense. And they've got a quarterback who is, gaining confidence by the moment.
And I said this about Sean McVay. I didn't know what he was going to be like, Jared, after Drew Brees, because how many coaches are tied to quarterbacks? This guy goes up to Denver here, completely cleans house, and here he is with Bo Nix now, and they're the number 1 seed in the AFC if the playoffs were to start right now. Are you buying Denver, or are you buying what Vrabel has done in New England. Which team are you buying more? Drake May's had a great year. I think that schedule, having a last place schedule, could be a little bit of fool's gold or a false positive on how you look at them. I know they beat Buffalo earlier in the year. They just come off a loss to Buffalo. But if you had to pick a team that you thought would make the AFC Championship game between those two, who are you more leaning on?
Denver, yeah, Denver, and I say that without a lot of hesitation. And I love what's happened for New England and Mike Vrabel showing what a difference a coach can make. Well, oh, by the way, Sean Payton has shown what a difference a coach can make, to the point that you just mentioned about just changing the culture there. I think the Broncos are just a little better situated right now, and again, they will be the home team. But the team that, and we've talked about them here already, that I think could be a wild card is Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers. And so maybe that doesn't mean that I'm saying that they're going to the Super Bowl, but if they get in, because there's still a couple of weeks to go and they got to beat Baltimore again to win the division. But if they can do that, I could see them winning the game. And let's not sleep on the Houston Texans, because after an ugly start to the season, when they played in Seattle, I don't know if it was a Thursday night or a Sunday night. It's one of those primetime games earlier this year. And that offense just looked so bad and so basic. We knew their defense was good, but they've really cleaned it up. And those weeks off for C.J. Stroud, when he was in concussion protocol for a long time, I think it was 3 games that he missed.
Yeah.
Davis Mills showed a whole lot that he could, drive the bus when needed. So that was great. But I think it also gave C.J. Stroud an opportunity to kind of, tighten up some stuff with his game. Now that's just me talking, intuition, if you will. But he's come back and been a whole lot better. And they've got, like I said, they've got the defense. So Houston's another team that you look at. And, Jacksonville's there too. But, yeah, Houston with their defense is so special. So,
man, I'll tell you.
Defense wins championships.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, Nick Caserio, their personnel guy, and D'Amico Ryans, those two dudes, man, I mean, coming out of that Deshaun Watson mess, they've completely transformed that entire operation. I mean, last year the Eagles were number 1 in total defense. They're even better than that team a year ago. And that team skunked the Kansas City Chiefs a year ago in the Super Bowl. Well, let me ask you this about the Chiefs. Last question here. Mm-hmm. Who are you more concerned about moving forward in Kansas City? Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes coming off that injury? And what I mean by Reid is, I mean, we're talking about a guy now approaching 70. He's there's question marks with, believe it or not, you went to 7 straight AFC championships, and people in Kansas City, Chiefs Kingdom, are doing this now, Jared. You think the game was past Andy Reid by, and I don't think the game's past Andy. I just think they need a personnel infusion. I mean, is this kind of like Brady was after he won those Super Bowls, and then he went through that 10-year gap? They retooled the team, and then because you have 15 in the building, right? I mean, here's Testament to Kansas City right now.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think as long as Mahomes is there, Andy Reid is going to want to be there for sure. Yeah. And so, I think there's a challenge. It's just so weird when you think about Kansas City, which played a lot of good football in stretches this year, but unlike last year, couldn't win the close games. And if they had won just 3 of those close games that they never lost last year, right? We could have a different story. But the fact that Mahomes is coming back, I mean, he's young enough, and this will just not, I had to talk with him in training camp about his off-season conditioning and, just the training regimen and how losing the last Super Bowl kind of affected him. And the thing I left with thinking about Patrick was the fact that here's a guy who's just a tiger when it comes to, his determination and all of that. Think of one of those old Rocky movies, right? Eye of the Tiger and stuff like that. Well, if that was the case with Mahomes last offseason, I can only imagine how determined and what it's going to do for him just moving forward and wanting to prove that, he's that guy. But again, part of the problem in Kansas City is that they, rely too much on that with him. So definitely some personnel changes need to be made, or just an infusion in certain spots. You would have thought the wide receiver room was going to be, a big boom for him when they got all those guys back healthy and they got Rashid back off of suspension. So maybe if most of those guys are back, they'll still be okay. The offensive line, they drafted, Josh Simmons in the first round, but has had a couple issues. So that's always an area that you're going to look at. But I think it's the defensive line that if I had to say, where do you really, really need to upgrade? It's just that, because you can never have enough, pass rushers. And that just seemed to be, a deficiency for them as the season went on, that they just were not collecting the sacks. So Steve Spagnuolo, as great as he is as a defensive coordinator and as much stuff as he could dial up and create and all of that, you still need some players on that front line.
Let me ask you one last question. I want to sneak this in on you. Of all the people you voted into the Hall of Fame, where did you get the most pleasure in seeing that knock on the door for?
Ooh, wow. That's a good one. Probably, maybe Charles Haley. Maybe.
Wow. Why Charles Haley?
Yeah, because he had been a guy who had been in the room for 4 or 5 years, before we voted him in. And Charles Haley was a guy too who had, a lot of, so he had the hardware, no doubt about that, with 2 teams, with San Francisco and with Dallas. But because he had so many issues with
49ers?
Yeah, the 49ers more than the Cowboys, but just, the persona that he had. And
yes, he did.
So, I think that was one of the things. I know when I was in the room talking about Charles Haley, that was part of the deal. It really was. Just, even though you're not supposed to consider things off the field, you can always make the argument that, well, some of the things that happened off the field affected what happened on the field, so on and so forth. So I was really, really glad for Charles, and it's been a few years now, but that's one of them. I might have to think about that and text you a better answer, or maybe not a better answer, but another answer as I get time to really just think about it. But
I'm sorry I'm doing this to you, because I could talk to you forever, and I got your time here, but let me say this to you. And I asked Jason Cole this, and he couldn't answer it. I asked Armando Salguero this question, and he couldn't answer it. So I'll ask you this question, because there's only 50 men like you. Antonio Brown is the best wide receiver in the last 20 years. Look at his numbers. Nobody. Would you vote for him for the Hall of Fame?
Okay, so I think that's a great question, and I've had this conversation already. For a guy who's not eligible for the Hall of Fame, there's definitely been a lot of conversation, right? Now, I think there's 2 things to look at with Antonio Brown as it relates to—
because you just said you're not supposed to take that off the field stuff.
You didn't let me finish.
Oh.
But I also said that the off the field stuff, can be carried onto the field. And so here's the point that I want to make about Antonio Brown. So yes, during his heyday and those Steelers years, there was no question that he was a Hall of Fame player. And there's probably not much of a question when it comes to his production over the entire course of his career. But there's the Pittsburgh Antonio Brown, and then there's the Antonio Brown who went to 3 teams, right? The Raiders, the Patriots for a couple weeks, or a week or 2.
A week. I think it was a week.
Yeah, and then the Bucks. And so all of that counts too. You can't just discount that. Now, I'm not saying that keeps him out of the Hall of Fame, but I think that it definitely weighs into the equation when you consider his case. So I think Antonio Brown is a Hall of Famer, okay, just based on the eyeball test and the production. But I don't think it's an automatic thing when you consider all the other things. So your question, would I vote for Antonio Brown for the Hall of Fame? So it's unlike baseball. It's not just a check the box Hall of Fame or not.
Yeah.
We've got all these levels that you go from this round to the next round to the next round. So when he gets to be a finalist and there are 14 others to consider, there's going to be a lot of factors that come into play. And then if he makes it to the 10 and so on and so forth. So it's tough to answer that question just definitively without saying anything beyond the fact that, yeah, he's a Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame career. So eventually I think it will or should happen for him. But when you start talking about, okay, does it happen on the first ballot? Is it an automatic thing? That's a much more difficult, question to answer.
The only reason I brought that up was because, look, I think Larry Fitzgerald, I think that guy's a Hall of Fame football player. I do. I know that he didn't really have a lot of great, but Antonio Brown's better than that guy. He's better than Steve Smith. He's better than anybody that's on the ballot right now. And somebody asked me the question. He goes, Silz, but I go, well, the Bucs don't win the Super Bowl without him. If he's not on that Bucs team, Brady even said it himself. He's not on the Bucs team. They don't win the Super Bowl when they added him. And I'm like, man, what a tough decision, because character and morality, if you're a human being, right, Jared, that's got to play into anybody when you're having a conversation. I don't want to put a tool into the Hall of Fame just because this guy is a great player. There's got to be something there where you're human in it and go, this guy hasn't been really the best citizen on the planet, not represented the league. Is that what I want the Hall of Fame to represent? That's got to be a tough dynamic for you guys.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's an unwritten dynamic, right? So if you look at the letter of the law and the bylaws as they are written, then you're not even supposed to count all of that. But like I said, sometimes you can look at situations and say, well, the situation he had in, say, those 2 weeks in New England, right? Okay, did that spill over into what could have happened on the field for him? And so it gets to be something that you kind of have to interpret, and that's why we're on this committee. So, flow through all of that doggone stuff. But I love watching Antonio Brown. I did, and those years in Pittsburgh, man.
I think that speaks volumes too, Jared. I think that speaks volumes to how Mike Tomlin handled him. Yeah. Le'Veon Bell, I think how he got the best out of them dudes there, man. Again, I think that's a testament to Mike, isn't it? Mike basically couldn't handle George Pickens and said, hey, you want to be here? I don't care who you are. You can go play in Dallas here, man. But that's another reason why I think Mike Tomlin's a Hall of Fame coach. I just love the guy. Jared, thank you so much, man. I hope we can do this again soon. You're absolutely sensational. Every time I ever contact you, you always find time. Thank you, sir.
Hey, I love coming on with the Sileo. Take care, and happy holidays, man.
You too, my friend. Thank you so much.
Okay.
You got it. Jared Bell, Hall of Fame voter for USA Today. We really appreciate that. I think that's going to be – hey, I'm with Z. Dude, Antonio Brown is a first ballot Hall of Fame guy. He's also a first ballot Hall of Fame tool. He is. He's a first ballot Hall of Fame tool. Hit the like button. No, by the way, we're going to have another Hall of Fame voter. That'll be Howard Balzer will join us at the bottom of the hour here too. So we got Hall of Fame guys lined up. I'll talk to three Hall of Fame voters today. I talked to Armando Salguero this morning. We just talked to Jared Bell, and we're going to talk to Howard Balzer. These are three dudes, 3 of the 50 men that vote for the Hall of Fame come on this program and on our show each and every single time we ever ask. And you know the coolest thing about Jared Bell? Anytime I ever ask Jared to come on the program, he's always come on the show. Always. Never hesitated. And you know what's really cool about him is that, hey, what he does is he goes, man, I see a lot of things about you on the internet. He goes, I read that stuff and I see all that stuff on the internet about you. He goes, everybody I've ever spoken to loves you. Xander says the same thing. Xander's like, how come everybody that comes on loves you and everybody who's on the internet doesn't? I go, well, I don't know anybody on the internet. Hit the like button. We appreciate all of you, each and every single one of you. Nick Sirianni spoke. We're going to get to that here in a minute. And also, I got a question to you. This weekend, Saturday. The Philadelphia Eagles are playing the Washington Redskins. I think the Washington Redskins are coaching Jaden Daniels wrong. Hear me out on this. Hey, James Jones, are you in here? Dude, there's only 17 NFL football games in a season. Okay? There's only 17 NFL games until that guy's going to see the field next year. And they shut him down. Dude, that guy needs playing time. That guy needs reps. The only way you're going to get better is reps. What are you saving him for? I think you stunt the guy's growth. He's not a 170-pound quarterback. He's 6'4", 210. Who fucking said he's small? Where did you get that he's small? He's 6'4". The guy's 6'4", like 210, 215. He's not a little dude. Well, Yale, if he's going to be injured, it's time to move on from RG3 2.0. You got to find out what the fuck he is. Hey, by the way, he's bigger than Hurts. What are you talking about? He's small. He's bigger than Jalen. I mean, he gets whacked around. Well, hey, if you here's again an asset of Jalen Hurts. All right? I mean, Hurts is a big dude. Hurts takes hits. He's a tough dude in the pocket. That's part of it too. Okay? Yeah, the guy's near 220, man. This guy's not a small player. It's a style of play. Style of play. He's not RG3. Stop putting that on that man's name. What do you mean? I'm talking about being injured and having to move on from a guy. The hell are you talking about? He's 10 times. Well, RG3 was the rookie of the year, and he was a heck of a ball player. When he lost his wheels, he was no good because he couldn't throw from the pocket. I'm always amazed at some of the skinny dudes playing in the NFL. Never used to be. Yeah, well, you can't hit the quarterbacks anymore. He needs Hurts weight style. I think he needs a better O-line. Smitty has the same build as him and plays a lot bigger. That's a great take. Yes. Silz, are you on crack? Hurts is a bigger dude than Daniels. Hurts is 6'1", 220 pounds. This guy's 6'4", 220. Where's he bigger? The fuck you talking about? Hurts is compact more because he's shorter. He's not bigger. It took Robert 4 years to win the amount that Jaden did in one. Yeah, I know. Jaden's a better player. There's no doubt. Hurts is a stronger player. That's correct. Silz, I meant to say earlier that guys like Marino, Moon, Elway, Aikman, Cunningham, Young, and Jeff George would all be 6 to 7K passers with 60-plus tutties every single season in this era, and I'm not lying. I agree with you 100%. Okay? Yeah, okay. I'm assuming you're talking about Jalen. Well, Daniels looks lighter than that. Well, because he's 6'4". Who told you Jaden Daniels was 6 feet? When the guy came into his draft, when the guy went into the combines, I saw when they said 6'4", I think he's a little over 6'4". He's a big, the reason he looks thin is because he's a tall guy. I mean, he's a tall player. He also needs an offense of elite athletes like Hurts has. Not all-dude AARP team. Listen, remember what I told you what Adam Peters had to do? Adam Peters went into a shit stain that Daniel Snyder had built with that shitty offensive football team. They had missed on draft picks. And they had to go old. Remember what we said with Xander? Xander said that the team would walk backwards because he was betting on the youth. And the youth played out in Philly. The old guys didn't. And the old guys got the guy killed. They signed all the old players because why? Washington hasn't been good in 25 years. I mean, when was Washington good? Daniel shows up. He wins the Rookie of the Year. He takes him to the NFC title game. And they don't have a very good roster. They didn't have a very good roster last year. And with Daniels off the roster, they're back to being the Redskins again. Old guy roster versus young guy roster. Young guys win. Really? Not always. Jaguars don't. This year they are. Silz, is this the most overrated group of quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League? I grew up in the early 2000s. It's different. I played against Dan Marino, John Elway, Steve Young, Joe Montana, Jim McMahon, Phil Simms, Joe Theismann, who's on tomorrow, by the way. I played football against all those dudes. And there's nobody in the league today except for Stafford that knows how to run an offense like those guys. Joe Montana and Kelly. I played against Kelly. Played against Boomer. I played against Warren Moon. I played against all them guys. Nobody ran offenses like those guys. Nobody in today's game. Like, you're not going to walk into an NFL football game today and have somebody like Warren Moon who could dissect the defense in 10 seconds. You know what I also think those guys did a better job of? What is the number one thing and the number one advantage that Dan Marino had over today's NFL guys? What do you think that is? What do you think it is? What's the one thing that the quarterbacks in the 80s had over today's guys? What's the one difference that the guys have today that guys in the past had the biggest advantage of? What was it? Guys know? I think it's harder to quarterback today. Quick releases. I see a lot of that. Here's what it is. Hey, Yale, everyone. Well, what's the one thing you didn't have pre-94? Anybody know? Pre-94, league changed. What's the one thing those guys had back in the day that they could count on every Sunday when they lined up against the team? Those great quarterbacks. You knew who was going to be at corner. You knew who was going to be at safety. You knew who was going to be where LT was. You knew where Reggie White was. You had a scouting report every single week, and it never changed until 1994. Guys, today, you see all these new guys going in and out. Rosters change 25%. They change every single, year. You don't know who's in the secondary. You don't know who's playing linebacker. You don't really know what you're looking at because of free agency. Dan Marino knew who the cornerbacks were in the AFC East. They knew who they were lining up against. He didn't need a scouting report. If Dan saw Rod Woodson, he knew Rod Woodson, his weaknesses, his strengths. It's easier to play because you got a scouting report. When you knew a guy was out, that's what you attacked. Nowadays, how many times you heard John McMullen and Xander talking like this? Hey, I can't believe the Bucs didn't know to go over toward Adoree Jackson instead of Q. They went at Q. That's just not knowing personnel. Quarterbacks back in the day, if there was a substitute and someone was in for Dion, you'd go right at that guy. Silz, why can't these guys read defenses like those guys have the scheme changed that much, take arm talent out of it? Because, well, it's easy. Kevin Patullo. You hire fucking guys like Kevin Patullo who never called plays for Jalen Hurts? That's a crime. Nice reference, kid. Marino knew Ray Finkel. There you go. Hey. Yeah, no, I mean, nobody hires a shitty offensive coordinator for Dan Marino. Dan Marino would tell the guy to get out. Nobody's going to hire a shitty OC for John Elway. Okay? Nobody's going to do that. That's right. Laces out, bro. Silz, did you ever play with Suge Knight? I played against Suge Knight when Suge was with the Rams. No, wait, when he was with the Raiders. He played at UNLV, and he played with the Rams. I believe, you're right, I think it was the Rams, because I played against the Rams in '87. And Suge was on the team. Yeah. Actually, when I started my broadcasting career, Suge Knight was in Vegas, and a guy by the name of Harry Hyde. My wife used to come to our remotes with this guy, Ron Futrell. And Suge Knight was like a security guy, I think it was. And he played for Coach, and he would come by and see Coach Harvey Hyde all the time. And Harvey Hyde and Ron Futrell, who's still in Vegas doing broadcasting, and I worked for Ron Futrell in TV at ABC, I think it was 7. And Suge Knight would come by all the time. My wife was with us, and he played for Suge. He played with Randall Cunningham. He was an all Mountain West player, too. And I got a chance to, before you know it, listen, I'm seeing Suge. I played football against him. I saw him at Harvey Hyde's radio broadcast. He used to be at the Rio. He'd show up all the time. Great dude. His real name is Sugar Bear. And he named him Sugar Bear. And then when he got to like Los Angeles, he took the sugar, and it was just Suge. Harvey Hyde named him that. I mean, crazy, huh? He was a good football player. He was a defensive tackle, and when he got to the Rams, they made him an offensive lineman. Yeah. Crazy, I know. Silz knows everyone. He's probably met my mother. Very funny. Silz, you play against Terry Crews? No. I don't. Was Terry with the Chargers 87, 88, 89? I don't remember him. I played against Natron Means against the Chargers, but I was with the Cowboys then when we played. When we played the Chargers, I was with the Dallas Cowboys. I started that game. That was Jimmy's very first professional football game. I started for Jimmy as the Cowboys. Let's see here. Dude, Suge was good. There's a highlight reel of him on the internet. Take a look at it, man. He was a pretty good football player. He was. Did some great things, man. On the football field. He's just a lunatic. Ron Heller. Dude, Ron Heller, one of the greatest stories of all time. So Ron Heller was an offensive lineman. He's from Penn State. I think he played with the Eagles, right? Okay. And we're playing against the Saints. I had never seen this shit in my life. It was Vinny Testaverde's first start. Vinny threw for 357 yards in the game. So I walk in. We're in the locker room. Ron Heller does this. Ray Perkins is giving a speech, and he goes like, yeah, and don't quit, Ron Heller does. Ray Perkins turns and punches the guy in the face. He breaks his hand. There's a melee. Ron's got the guy on the ground, and he's sucker punching him. And the refs walk in, and I'm fucking like, I turned and walked out. I said, I can't believe what I'm watching. I've never seen a player beat a coach up, let alone a head coach. And he beat his ass right there. The next day, Ron Heller was traded to the Eagles. Fucking true story. Ron was a really good player. He traded him to the Eagles. Shit, I think he played a long time in Philly. He punched Ray right in the fucking head. Ray hit him first, though. True. Ray punched him in the face, broke his hand. Ron grabbed him. You know how the guy puts his hand on the guy's head and the guy's just swinging and he can't hit him? Ron's like 6'6", and he fucking was trying to hit him. Ron just said, shit, popped him, knocked him down. I laughed my ass off. I couldn't believe Ray Perkins got cold cocked. Hey, that's an NFL locker room at halftime going into the second. By the way, guess who the linebacker coach was in New Orleans at that time in 1987? You guys have any idea? Guess who the linebacker coach in New Orleans was? Ricky Jackson was on that team. Sam Mills was on that team. Who else? Vaughn Johnson, who was a really good linebacker. I think they called it the Soul Patrol. Vic Fangio was the linebacker coach for the Saints then, for Jim Mora. Because why? Jim Mora was the head coach of the Philadelphia Stars. He got the Saints gig, and he brought Fangio with him, and he was his linebacker coach. Fucking true story, man. I told you, Vic recruited me for Milford Academy when his first job was Milford Academy. I was 6 years old. Oh, yeah. Dome Patrol. That's it. Dome Patrol. See Big Silz, I listen. There you go. Like it. Yeah, no, they had a great linebacking core. That was Vic's probably best linebacking core that he's ever had. And he worked for the Bensons. So he knows the New Orleans system. Yeah. He punched him in the face. He hit Ray Perkins. So, and then get this. Ray walks in on Monday. And everybody, we couldn't wait. I show up. I'm waiting to see this. We're all sitting in there. Ron's still on the team. Ray walks in. He's got a cast on his hand because he broke his hand, hitting Ron Heller in the face. And we're sitting there, and I'm sorry, man. He made a crack, and every one of us started laughing. He goes, yeah, probably not the best thing in the world to pick a fight with Ron Heller. And somebody in the back goes, well, damn, coach, you're giving a couple inches away, aren't you? I mean, Ray's like 6 feet, and Heller's 6'7", and he fucking hit him right in the mouth. Bop! Dropped his ass. 2 days later, he's a Philadelphia Eagle. Hilarious. So we show up the next day. Ron goes, I'm traded to the Eagles. I said, really? Did you think you were going to stick around here? By the way, in that game, Vinny threw for 375 yards. Oh. I didn't play with Doug. I know Doug very well. He's been on the show numerous times. Silz, who's the best old lineman you faced? Probably Bruce Matthews, Mike Munchak. I thought Don Mosbar was great. 49ers, Kim? Who? Oh, yeah, Ron Brown. That's right. He was great. He was a great ball player, too. Guy McIntyre was on that team. Was also, Randy Cross was great. Randy Cross. Yeah, absolutely. Paul Gruber was a teammate of mine. Yeah. I mean, Silz, what were the Catholics versus convicts game like? I wasn't in that game. That was after I had left. The two Notre Dame games that I was part of was we beat them 58-7 and 24-0. And that's what set up the whole thing with convicts and Catholics. That game was like 88. I think that game was in 88 in South Bend. So, yeah, I mean, Notre Dame was never really a contest for us. We beat the piss out of them. Yeah, but the best low linemen, Nate was great because Nate punched you with his left hand. And I really hadn't seen a guy that would hit you with your left hand. So Nate Newton was really good. Nate wasn't the tallest guy. His brother Tim Newton played at Florida. He played at Florida A&M. Nate could play some ball, dude. He was a really good player. Kevin Gogan was a pretty good ball player. I'll tell you this, Baldinger, man, he wasn't bad. Brian Baldinger was not a bad ball player. He wasn't. He was pretty good. Mark Tuney was good. Russ Grimm with the Redskins was a pretty good ball player. Who else? Eagles didn't really have anybody. That Chicago O-line was great. Keith Van Horn, fucking great football player. He was 6'6", and he had a wingspan on him, man. I mean, he could fucking stretch his arms like he was a power forward on an NBA team. That guy could play some ball, dude. He was a really good football player. So, absolutely, man. Hey, by the way, we're efforting our friend Howard Balzer. Hopefully, we're able to. Here's something that Jared Bell just sent me. I asked him the question. Great question. I asked him, remember I said, who was the most rewarding guy that he put in the Hall of Fame? And this is what he said. Drew Pearson, love Haley, but it took Drew a whole lot longer to get in to the Hall of Fame, faced many challenges after his great career was cut short by an accident. So he said, if I had to pick somebody, it would be Drew Pearson that he put in the Hall of Fame and that I guess he made the speech for. The reason that Nate Newton's not in the Hall of Fame is because he got caught with about 10 pounds of weed. And for whatever reason, that's kind of taking him off the ballot. Is Nate Newton a Hall of Famer? Absolutely. Somebody helped Emmitt Smith get 17,000 rushing yards. You know what I'm saying? Somebody helped him. You mean to tell me nobody off that Dallas Cowboy offensive line outside of Larry Allen's a Hall of Fame guy? I find that hard to believe. Right? So let me see if I can get Howard in here. Hopefully he can pop in with us here in a minute. I think that's great because, again, this will be the third Hall of Fame voter that we talked to today. Google search Kevin Gogan squaring off with Jerome at the vet. Yeah, well, I'm taking Jerome Brown in that. Now, Kevin Gogan was a tough dude, man. He was a tough guy. He was a really good football player. 6'7", 6'8", big fucking dude. Silz, if you could play for any of those great Canes teams, which one would you have wish you could have been part of? The one I was part of. My teams had Jimmy Johnson and that coaching staff on it. I mean, I mean, you're talking like the 2000, 2001 team. I'll take my team over them. I'll take my team. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. We would beat that team. You know why? I had better coaching. I had an NFL Hall of Fame and College Football Hall of Fame coach and coaching staff. We would have beat that team. Vinny versus Ken Dorsey. I'll take that. Michael Irvin versus Andre Johnson. I'll take Michael Irvin. Jerome Brown versus, they didn't have Sapp on that 2000 team. I'll take Jerome. Benny Blades. They didn't have a Benny. Oh, wait, they did. They had Sean Taylor. They had Sean Taylor. Okay. And they had Ed Reed. The safeties on that team were Ed Reed and Sean Taylor. Fucking. And the middle linebacker, I think on the 2000 team, was Ray Lewis. You know who recruited all them guys? Ed Ogeron. Yeah. Hey, Silz, what happened to Daryl the Thrill Hill? Great guy. Still, I think he lives down in South Florida. I think he's all good. Just a really great guy. Yeah. Thrill Hills, good dude, man. Good people. I go on his podcast every now and then. Dorsey was so underrated. Your team was the team I first fell in love with the Canes. You all were nasty. Still to this day, voted the most hated team in American sports history. I know, Ed Reed and Sean Taylor on the same team is wild. Along with, get this, not only Ed Reed and Sean Taylor, Ed Reed, Sean Taylor, and Ray Lewis and Jonathan Vilma were all on the same football team. Try that fucking thing out. Do you think anybody will ever break your bench press record? No. I do not. They don't, as I told my daughter, they don't train like that anymore for big power lifts. My wife and I, back in the day, my wife trained with me. And as she trains my daughter, they don't train like that anymore. They don't go for big lifts. Like one bench press, most I ever did was 605. My wife was my spotter on it too. That's the most I ever did. And after that, my elbows blew up. So I wasn't able to do it anymore. But no, I did that 535 when I was 21. I did the 420 at Maryland when I was 19. And both records still stand today. So I just don't think guys are like that today. I mean, you don't really find dudes that have that kind of strength like that and ran 4.8s. I ran a 4.8 and I did all that. I mean, they don't tie that together because it's different training. I'm not saying somebody couldn't do it. I'm saying that they just don't train like that any longer. Where they have dudes that are able to do that kind of shit. They just don't. We're efforting our friend Howard Balzer. I don't know where Howard is. Maybe he forgot. It's all good. We'll get him another time because we got 2 Hall of Famers today. Tomorrow we got Joe Theismann on tomorrow. Silz, as an Eagle fan, Jalen Hurts fits best in Philly than any other quarterback only because he's just like us. We call for his benching, and the next week he wears a Yankee hat. Actually, that's some pretty good shit. Okay? Actually, I was 270. I don't know. Kim, how much you think I weighed when I did 605? What do you think, Kim? 300. Probably 300 when I did 605. 300. Probably 300. Battle Royale tomorrow, of course. Dude, let me tell you, Larry Allen benching 700 pounds. So Dave Campo was the head coach of the he's been on here. He was the head coach of the Cowboys. He coached me at Miami, right? He sent me a video on an email. He goes, watch this. Larry Allen bench press 700 pounds. That's a fucking real thing. I saw it. I couldn't believe it. Now, the guy looked like he was helping him, but dude, how much are you helping on a spot when you're leaning over a guy and it's 700 pounds? What could he possibly be helping him? 10 pounds? 15 pounds? Maybe? This guy put up, and he pushed it up. One time. Of course, one time. I think the record's 750 now. I couldn't believe it. And Larry Allen ran 4.7s. Larry Allen was insane. Silz, that's an awesome feat that you should be very proud of. Bench press records. Good job. Oh, man, I still hold them. Yeah. Let's see. How many years is that? I broke that one record in 83. So I broke that one record in 1983. So what's that? 26 something years old, 25 years old. I broke the other one in 1986. That was 86 when I did the 535. Yeah. And hey, for the record, I had never bench pressed 500 pounds. I took a week off. I'd never taken a week off. I went home for the holidays. Came back. They told me we had to do our strength test. So I jump in there, and I had never gotten over 475. So I pushed 75 up. I'm like, shit. My friend Matt Patchen, who got drafted by the Eagles, goes like this, you got to put 500 pounds on. I put 500 pounds on. I go, holy fuck. I threw that through the roof. There's only 2 people that ever bench pressed over 500 pounds at Miami. Kevin Fagan, Reuben Carter, and me. And so then I go, we got to put 525 on. I smoked that. Then I put 535 on. I smoked that. I had done so much bullshit. I almost hit 550. I couldn't get it up. I was so close to getting 550. The following year, I did 550. But it was not like during testing. But I did do 550. And that was the most anyone ever lifted there. Yeah. And I had a 28 vertical. Right now I shuffle. My wife goes, pick your feet up. Because I shuffle. Yeah. Because I shuffle. Right. But I had a 27 vertical. I could slam a basketball. Not a basketball. A Nerf ball. Yeah. And ran a 4.8. Greatest athlete in the world, Wilt Chamberlain, 7'1", 300 pounds. Clocked a 4.1 and a 40. Well, yeah, he's 7'1". Okay. Let's see here. Hurts and Barkley squat 600. Barkley's, yeah. Oh, Saquon. Yeah. Yeah. How much do you think you could bench now? Let's see. In about an hour and 20 minutes, probably around 4 Coronas. 4 Coronas and maybe a ham sandwich. That's what I think. Yeah, my days are done with that shit. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let me get into this. So Nick Sirianni spoke. Nick Sirianni. Oh boy. Yeah. Silz played with Suge, not played with, against. Okay? Not with, against. 4 Coronas, man. You kidding me? The shuffle. That's what my wife calls me, the fucking shuffler. The shuffler. And here's M. Reyes. Silz can bench maybe half an M. Reyes. What's that? What's that? A half a fucking decimal of a fucking IQ? This guy's a Dunkov. M. Reyes. Half an M. Reyes. What's that? You're always looking up, you're walking around. You're talking about shuffling. This guy scoots along on them Howie Roseman knee pads. Hey, M. Reyes is coming. They always know when M. Reyes is coming. You know why? He's just shuffling along. Hey, Z, now that I think about it, 5:30 is probably, wait, 1:30. Wait. Hey, I can't believe my wife's answering. Hey, Kim, is Phoenix on an hour ahead of us? She's not talking to me anymore. So let's see. She's not talking to me anymore. I forgot. This could be 5:30. Z, you better get in here, man. Because I may have screwed the time up here with Howard. Okay? I may have screwed it up. It's 2:45. Yeah, I think I screwed it up. I think he's coming on at, yeah, at 4:30. 5:30. I think he's coming on 5:30. Yeah, dude, help me out here. Xander's like, wait a minute, I'm not ready yet. Yeah, I think I screwed that up. Because Phoenix has got this really weird they got this really weird time thing where they're like ahead. And they got an hour ahead now. That's pretty athletic, Silz. You had similar speed and similar vertical to me, but you were way stronger. I was a basketball dude. Okay. No, an hour ahead. No daylight savings there. I know that thing always screwed me. Well, which is really great that my daughter graduated. We would have to fucking go there like at 2:30 in the morning when my kid played. It was always a nightmare to go and watch her play. Fucking crazy. Yeah, crazy. That's right. Well, so I got my time mixed up. I'm just assuming that Howard's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Okay, so without further ado. Oh, by the way, Joe Theismann tomorrow. We're going to talk to the former MVP of the National Football League tomorrow. All right. Without further ado, the man who's still trying to squeeze that last bit of Eagle love out of that shitty Raider game. My man. I know what he's doing. He's eating a Humpty Dumpty. That's what he's doing. He is, my boy, Big Z, eating a Humpty Dumpty, ain't you?
What's up, Silz? Yeah, I was eating some Humpties. I was also eating pomegranate. All right. Anybody else?
Daughter loves pomegranates.
Oh, and you gotta work for them, and it makes the reward that much better. I love a pomegranate. So I'm eating a pomegranate thinking I'm coming on at 5 o'clock, 5:15, whatever, and you call me in. But I'm ready. I'm ready, and I'm feeling good about the Philadelphia Eagles, everybody.
Based on what?
The league stinks.
Fair.
That's what I feel good about.
You really believe the Rams are the only threat to you right now?
I believe the Rams are the biggest threat, yeah. And I don't think it's really close.
Is this fair? The Rams and the Eagles are the biggest threat to the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. And what I mean by that is, what Eagle team shows up?
Well, remember, the Rams are the Eagles' biggest threat, and they're also a team that the Eagles have their number right now. Matthew Stafford's 0-4 versus Jalen Hurts. Sean McVay, I think, hasn't won yet against Sirianni. They're struggling against the Eagles. Now, that doesn't guarantee we're going to win, obviously. The Bucs had our number until they didn't. But that's why I feel good. I mean, get into the playoffs, you get into the dance, anything can happen. Now, this team has also showed you that the bad can happen too, where when they don't play their best game, they don't win football games. But I feel like could just make a run.
Man,
defense wins, man. Defense wins.
You've beaten 3 teams this year that are playoff teams.
Defense wins.
3 teams that are playoff teams this year. 3 teams. And you're sold off the Raider game? I don't think you're sold off the Raider game.
I'm not sold off the Raider game. You're planting that. You're trying to make me look like a kook by planting that. That's a load of baloney. By the way, I saw Aunt Betty teamed up on me yesterday too. And Aunt Betty, you're on the show chirping at me. She's in the chat chirping at me. I'm like, okay, I see how it is. It's a Sileo tag team. I will have to fend for myself tomorrow when on the show. And he's like, Xander was off his rocker on the postgame show. No, I wasn't. Sileo lost credibility on the postgame
No.
By giving it not a stitch of credit.
No way. I'm gonna defend you. I didn't think you were either, man. I didn't think you were off the top. I think you were just trying to get, me to sit there and try to glaze donuts, something that I didn't see. I mean, I wasn't impressed with anything except the defense, and I'm going to get to that here in a minute. You know what? You might be right.
Well,
they might be playing top 10 defense.
Well, remember, the Chiefs beat the Raiders 31-0 too, and they're out of the playoffs. So beating the Raiders 31-0 really doesn't tell us a whole lot other than that you have an opportunity to get things going before you get into the postseason. Because you're not going to play weak competition in the postseason, even though you actually might, because, the postseason teams to me don't even look that good right now. And if you can get hot, I mean, we got Marcus Mariota twice in the final 3 games. I mean, does it get any better for us? The Raiders and Marcus Mariota twice? Find your rhythm. get hot going into the playoffs, and let's go here.
Okay, well, wait a minute here. Well, let me do this then. Let me say this to you then. Okay, you bring up this all the time to me. You said this. You go like this. You said, hey, end of the day here, we got to play who's in front of us. Okay, we got to play who's in front of us. Well, doesn't this balance it out now when we say this? Okay, well, get this. Here's your defense. You're 14th right now. You've risen from 24th within a matter of 2 months. You've risen 10 spots. And doesn't the calendar and doesn't the game, 17 games, doesn't that balance it out? I mean, it's got to be a balancing act. I mean, you got to play who's in front of you. You're now 14th in the NFL. You've risen in 2 months, 10 spots.
Wow, that game on Sunday really helped, huh?
Okay, but you know what, John? I heard John go like this today. Well, you got to put in context the Raiders are not good. Well, wait a minute, John. You told me you got to play who's in front of you. Do you not? Doesn't it all balance out? You played really good teams earlier in the year. Now you're getting and Xander, by the way, don't you think the league thought the Commanders were going to be good at the end of the year by scheduling those 2 games at the end of the year?
Yeah.
Of course they did.
Absolutely.
So this is now balancing out. You're going to get a chance to get those numbers right. Maybe you are going to finish in the top 10.
Maybe another take there. You could have listened to the young grasshopper. What was
Right
that
now,
again, the Commanders? Yeah.
Hey, well, how about this? You've now moved up to 10th in passing defense.
Yeah, they're look that I don't think the defensive rankings are even indicative of really where they are.
No, but what I'm saying is by the end of the year, Xander,
the
it's
rankings are the full season. Like,
right.
I like Vic in any one game. The playoffs are one and done. You know, it's not about overall rankings and what you did in a 17-game set. It's not about that. All right. So to me, I think Vic gives you the advantage in any game. You know, more so than any of these other defenses who are better. I mean, who you guys like better, Vance Joseph or Vic Fangio? I get it. The Broncos have a better defense. Give me Vic Fangio in a playoff game.
In a playoff game?
Yeah.
That would be the Super Bowl, too.
Yes, right. Or, you know what, you want to go to the NFC side. Give me the Seahawks. What do you got? Mike McDonald? Who's their defensive?
Yeah.
Who's their DC, though?
I don't know who that DC is.
I guess it's not that. I mean, Mike McDonald's definitely the
head coach.
Seahawks.
I don't.
No, I know he's the head coach, but he's a defensive guy. Aiden Durd.
Yeah. That's kind of more of an assistant kind of guy.
Yeah,
we
right.
just confirmed that Howard's going to join us at 5:30. He had forgotten it was his mistake, so it's all good.
That's fine. Yep, that's fine. It probably was your mistake with the time, but
probably was. What'd you make of Jared Bell?
Jared was good, man. I like Jared Bell. You've had him on before. I like Jared Bell. By the way, Antonio Brown's a Hall of Famer. I mean, please, everybody miss me with the pearl clutching bullshit. People love to stand on their high horse when they're talking about everybody else like they don't have skeletons in their own closet. The Hall of Fame is about Hall of Fame football players. Anybody that ever watched Antonio Brown play, that's a Hall of Fame football player. All right? Please, miss me with all the bullshit. I don't care. I don't care what he did. I don't care who he upset. I don't care what lawsuits he's got. I don't care how he ran off the field. He's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Put him in the Hall.
Hey, he was better. He's better than Larry Fitzgerald.
Dude, I think he's one of the best receivers I've ever seen. I mean, I'm a younger fan, obviously, so I haven't seen. I mean, Megatron, I remember vividly.
I don't think he's there.
No, he's not Megatron level. But, I mean, he's Antonio Brown in his prime.
Oh, he's better than Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, he's a monster. So I'm putting him in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, dude, I am very encouraged about the defense of the Eagles here, man. I mean, look at this. 6th in scoring, 4th in red zone, 10th in pass defense. Holy shit, dude. This thing is really getting better. And by the end of the year, it might all even out to have that number where they're near the top 10. I said they'd end up 15th. I don't know. That number may look better, depending on what happens in Buffalo.
It's crazy, man. If the offense was, let's say, 12th in the NFL, what do you think the defense would be?
5th.
Yeah, me too. It's about what I was thinking. Top 5.
5th.
You know, so the offense really has to carry their weight in the postseason, you know, but if you do get into some shootouts, or not shootouts, like some defensive shootouts, I guess you could say, where the games are 17-14, 21 to, 18, somewhere in that range. I like the Eagles in those games. I really do. I mean, I think the Eagles are in a good spot in those games. You don't need the offense to do too much. I don't think you want to have the offense where they need to win a shootout, because that's not going to work out well. But, look, here's the thing about Jalen, too. We've talked a lot about Jalen this year, and I'm not going to sit here and act like Jalen doesn't have this.
Good and bad.
Right. But he does have moments, man, where he is a total gamer, and he just takes over game. He plays good in big moments. He's also had big moments where he hasn't played good, and I think people do have to factor that in. Like, you hear a lot, playoffs, Jalen's the best. The first 2 games of the playoffs last year, Jalen was not so great. So, there is other games. The playoffs in 23, he was terrible in that playoff game. Playoffs in 21, awful in that game. So he's not perfect, but boy, if he has one of those signature Jalen gamer games and that defense can play solid, the Eagles beat anybody, including.
Yeah, but I don't think you have the football team this year that can fill the gaps if he plays bad.
Well, that I agree with. I mean, if you're he can't go into the playoffs this year and play like he did versus the Packers last year and the Rams. I mean, that's just not going to work. You need NFC title game, Super Bowl game, Jalen for the whole playoff run. And that's what, I don't know if you'll get that, but that's what you need. That's what you need.
All right. How about this? Let me ask you this before I go over to the offense. I don't think this football team's better than a 22 team. He had 70 sacks on that team. You had a football team that had, what'd you win? 14 ball games that year.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not better than that team. You're not better than the 22 team. You're not better, obviously, than last year. So this is the third best team that Jalen has, in your opinion, in the 5 years of him starting? Because they're better than the 23 team, obviously. And they're better than his first year. And I never really look at that first year because it's him finding his way.
Well, I mean, I don't think that means that much. I mean, Mahomes won 3, and you could argue, some of maybe his best team didn't win. You could say, or make the same argument with Tom Brady. The best team that Tom Brady was ever on didn't win the Super Bowl, and he had lesser teams that won. So, yeah, it's maybe the third best, but let's see. I mean, if they go into the playoffs and they run the table and they make the Rams look like they're bitch and they win the Super Bowl and they get the second straight and we celebrate all summer with preparation for a three-peat, I think they're going to be viewed a lot differently than they were in week 14 and 15.
I got to tell you, man, having that thing, my sophomore year, okay, we lost the title game. Oh no, my junior year we lost the title game. My senior year we won the title game, and it was our backups that won the national title. The backups won the national championship, and because we let that thing go. Believe me, man, and you never let that go when you are on a really good team and you don't consummate the deal. So let me go to the offense here. So the Eagles right now are sitting at the 22nd best offensive football team. Is that indicative of really who they are? Because I agree with you. I don't really think the numbers, I think they're going to even out. I think the numbers are exactly who they are. They're about the 22nd to 25th best offense in football. Do you not agree?
I actually think it's a little inflated. I mean, we've had some games here where we got some garbage yards. I remember Eagles fans used to, Dak Prescott, the garbage yard king, blah, blah, blah.
When did you accept that, Xander? When did you accept the fact that you're like –
I think we're the 25th ranked, though. I think we're 25th or lower.
Okay.
From the eye test. I mean, you watch the eye test. It's like, dude, this offense –
When did you go like this? Man, I'm just not going to expect anything out of this offense anymore. Because I remember a couple post-game shows, you were like this. Hey, I'm like this. This is what it is. This is who they are. I'm done with it.
Yeah, I'm enlightened, I said. I'm enlightened about the offense.
Isn't it like 2 post-game shows ago?
I think it was a little longer ago, but maybe I got back all my expectations for him and then expected more and then set myself up for disappointment again. So, no, yeah, I mean, I think this is what they are. I mean, it's kind of who they become in terms of the way they try and play. Like if you play a conservative approach, you're not going to have a consistent offense or a pretty offense or any of those things. I mean, you should almost expect inconsistency if you're going to play the style of football that they're playing. And that's what they're doing. And it also goes into the quarterback too, where not even in a negative way, but when you're not a prolific passer, you have a different style of offense. Like the Rams could lose a football game, but man, does it normally look pretty? The Lions, they just got beat by the Rams. They put up 35 points in the game? Yeah, it looked pretty. I mean, the Cowboys, they put up 30 and they lose. So it doesn't always look pretty and it always looks inconsistent. But the bottom of the line is when they protect the ball, they win games. And that's what they're going to try and do. And I think they should continue to try and do that. But, yeah, offense isn't that great, but we're a defensive team. And if the offense can play middle of the pack, I think you're in a good enough spot to win some playoff games at the very least.
You think Nick was telling the truth today when he said that Jalen was pulled because of the lead?
My gut feeling is yeah, and it's not because I'm saying Nick's a truth teller, but that was my gut feeling before Nick said that. I didn't think Jalen left because of the ankle. Like, in other words, if that was a playoff game, there's not a shot in hell Jalen was coming out of that football game. When you're up 31-0 on the Raiders, let's put the quarterback down. We're gonna sit him down anyway.
For the record, I don't believe him.
Well, you think it was ankle?
Yeah. Why would I tell my?
But no, that's not.
Wait a minute. Why would I tell my opponent that I'm going to play, or I'm going to tell the league my quarterback's hurt?
Yeah, but that I agree with. But
I mean, why would I telegraph that?
Because it could have been ankle. But again, I think they just did it earlier because of the ankle. They were going to do it anyway. If that game was a playoff game, are you under the belief that Jalen would have came out of that game?
No.
Right. So that answers the question to me.
No, I think. Well, that wasn't really where I was at. I'm saying that they pulled him because he got hurt.
Well, remember, they pulled everybody else too.
To cover for that. Yeah, I got it.
Maybe.
Okay.
Tanner McKee went on, a 9-minute drive?
Hey, with those fabulous 3 passes. Hey,
he's throwing to Darius Cooper. I mean, what do you want?
No. But again, so when I hear that and I hear people go like this, oh, okay. I'm like, why in the world would a head coach go like this? Oh, yeah, I pulled my guy because he's hurt. Now that I know if I'm the Commanders or I'm a team coming up like Buffalo, that I know the quarterbacks, I'm going to make them run more. Why? You're not going to telegraph that. So, I mean, you got to – dude, I don't believe anything the Eagles say when it comes to those press conferences. I don't believe anything that they say.
Me neither. But my point being is less about Nick being honest and more just that I don't think Jalen's in any sort of danger or anything. Like, I don't think he's in any sort of danger of missing time. I don't.
Would you rest him for the final 2 games if the Rams win on Thursday night? They've slam dunked it. Now you're still fighting for the 2 seed because Chicago's got to play, I think, Green Bay this weekend. They play on Saturday too, by the way. So if Chicago beats Green Bay, okay, because Green Bay, I believe, is in the 2-0 right now, right?
No.
Bears, okay. So if Green Bay,
the Bears just beat them.
Okay. So will those 2 teams switch positions 2-7 again? Or will the Eagles move up if they win this weekend against Washington?
Oh, the Bears and the Packers play again this weekend.
Yeah, he just said that.
The Packers won that game. Yeah, the Bears won the Browns and the Packers lost. That's right.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Here's what I'm saying to you. Listen, if they win on Saturday, I'm talking Green Bay. Do those teams switch position again? Because Chicago's in the 2-0. Or
I think
is it that the Eagles go to 10-5 on the season and they move up into the 2-0? Because if they don't move up into the 2-0 with 2 left, you're not going to improve your positioning. You're going to sit in the 3 spot. You're not in any danger of going to the 4 spot because it's either going to be Carolina or Tampa, and they're both 7-7. Do you rest guys the final 2 games of the year?
Maybe. Depends. I mean, I don't think you really want to go in. This is not a team that's played their best football. So I think you got to be careful with resting when you're talking about, I don't know. I mean, do you want this offense to have a 2-week hiatus? You obviously want them to be healthy, but I mean, I really think the offense needs a little bit more time to get going. I mean, I think you have a confidence game there. I doubt they're going to bench people versus the Bills. I mean, unless they really want to take away anything that an opposing team could use against them in the playoffs. But yeah, I don't know. I'd probably
so you're looking for more consistency. So they need playing time together.
We're at what?
I'm with
9
you.
wins. I mean, I want to get to 11 wins. I mean,
I think you're
10 wins and be like, all right, yeah, rest.
Well, you're gonna beat the Commanders twice.
I don't know that, bro. I really don't. It's a divisional game. Never discount what a divisional opponent wants to do when it comes to fucking up your season because their season already sucks. All right. And we also lost to the Giants once this year, and that was a divisional opponent. 2 of our 5 losses this year are divisional opponents. We didn't sweep the Cowboys. We didn't sweep the Giants. I mean, why do you think we're going to sweep the Commanders? I get it that we're a much better team, and they're largely
and they surrendered.
Yeah, and they're probably looking at Cancun. But I don't like to look at the divisional games and just say, okay, two straight wins. I mean, I will in the summertime, but when push comes to shove here, with the way the Eagles have played, I think the Eagles have to handle business there. I mean, I don't think you want to go into the playoffs, dude, with 2 rested games. I really don't.
I think you're
I don't
right.
know. I mean, that's just my perspective. It doesn't mean that's what they'll do, but
Would you rest Lane the rest of the year until the postseason?
Lane, I'd view differently. I mean, Lane's got seniority, and I don't have any problem. Like, if Lane comes back, Lane is back. He's not going to need time to ramp up. It's Lane Johnson. The dude's played how many games in his damn career? Over what, 100 something? How many games? I don't know, a lot of games. But so I'd probably let Lane rest. Yeah. The other guy that could be interesting would be like, but the thing is, they'll never do this because you're not going to rest offensive linemen without resting your quarterback. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you're not going to put him out there to get killed. So, but this dude Landon and Steen or Juergens, excuse me, are like, these two dudes are not playing good football. So maybe there. I mean, maybe because of that they do sit everybody. I don't know. We'll see what they do. I wouldn't do it. I'll tell you that much. I would go into Buffalo and say, we need to beat Buffalo. Let's go. Let's go, everybody. I don't give a fuck what you're feeling. Let's go. We got to go and beat Buffalo. You beat Buffalo, you've earned the right to sit your ass on the couch for week 8 or sit your ass on the bench in week 18, and we go into the playoffs feeling good about our squad. That's where I would like to be. Now, if they don't get there, I understand, but that's what I would do.
Can I ask you a fun question?
Sure, bro.
What'd you make of Philip Rivers playing? What'd you make of him playing? Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. 5 years coming off the bench, right?
Yeah.
Coming off the couch, really. Not bench, couch.
Yeah. I mean, straight couch, bro. I mean, this kid's got 10 or 11 kids at home. He's got a grandkid. I mean, this guy's, you know how it is. I mean, this guy's not just like your average dad. This guy's dealing with kids everywhere, grandkids. This guy's got like, if you're a parent, and I'm not a parent yet, but if you're a parent, I know that kids occupy a lot of your time. Imagine that times 10 with Philip Rivers. And then he comes back after 5 years. I loved it. I thought it was a great story.
Hey, by the way, thank God he made $295 million. I mean, there you go, because he made a lot of money.
Well, he deserved it, man. He's a great player.
Yeah,
but
he's great too.
You know what I liked about it was I was watching the game a little bit. By the way, I think he's going to get better.
Plays against San Francisco on Monday night.
Yeah, I think he's going to keep getting better. But, I was watching that game. Dude, he gets to the line of scrimmage. There's 20 seconds left on the play clock.
No shit.
I don't get what these other quarterbacks do. This is not only a Jalen.
They're not skilled.
Dude, Phillip gets right out of the huddle, right to the play. And then he gets up there and he fucking goes
in that's Shane.
Survey mode. And he figures out where defenses are. Doesn't need motion. Doesn't need any of that bullshit. Certain formations. He knows what defenses are in. Then he snaps the ball with
protection.
Yeah.
All that, man. He's such a skilled guy. You think Tom Brady could come off and out of the broadcast booth and take that Eagles to a Super Bowl and win it?
Yeah, I do. Honestly,
I do too, man.
Yep. You see how much time they got in pass protection? Tom Brady would cook on that.
Brady was asked. He goes, "I could lead a team to a win right now."
Well, Brady's much older than Phillip, right?
48.
Brady's what? Is he 48? I truly believe Tom Brady could still play. Like not easily because you are almost 50 years old, but I mean, I truly believe he could still get out there.
What do you think Brady would look like in that offense? Right, 48.
Why are you making me dream?
No, I'm just saying. I think Tom Brady would win a Super Bowl with that Eagle offense. Don't you think?
Dude, it's like
he's never played. He's never played.
Like, you know that picture of there's like the meme where the guy's walking with his lady and there's like another lady walking by him and he's turning around looking at the girl. Sileo's like constantly introducing, you could have this. Well, what if you had this? Can I just enjoy what we got here in Philly right now, Big Silz? Oh, man.
But you're not enjoying it.
No, I'm not. I'm enjoying the winning, but I'm not enjoying the offense.
No, you're married to an ugly chick in Philly.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree.
Holy, see, that's the difference between Big Silz, man. Me and you, Z, we married the prom queens, man. I ain't got to worry about looking
over. Bro, I don't agree with that either.
Okay.
Listen, all right. You got to be honest here,
Dude.
because a lot of people in this
He's
chat
the ugly chick at the parade.
bull fucking shit. All right, I will criticize Jalen Hurts, and I have done it to the tune of people calling me all sorts of names and bullshit because they don't want to hear it. But let's call a spade a spade. This chat's gotten a little out of hand on Jalen Hurts. This guy has more touchdowns than 95% of the league in the last 5 years. All right, his team has been to 2. He has 4 playoff appearances, and I'm not saying it's all him. It's a team accolade. But you've been to playoffs 4 times with your quarterback, and you're in the dance twice. You're in the Super Bowl twice. I mean, Dak Prescott can throw the pill. He's had good teams too. The guy's got 2 playoff wins in 10 years. Again, it's not only a quarterback metric, but let's not get carried away here and act like we've had 4 straight losing years and it's time for a fucking change. All right?
I wasn't the one hollering for a benching. That wasn't me. That was
You're making me dream of 48-year-old Brady right now.
Hey, that wasn't me saying bench the kid. I never once said that.
I'm just saying.
It was the rest of your radio stations in Philly that was saying.
Fuck what they say. Bunch of scrubs.
I just agreed.
Listen, that doesn't mean that Hurts doesn't have his deficiencies, but all in all, the Eagles right now are a freaking good team, and they got to keep playing their game. And look, part of that does come down to Jalen's got to go gamer mode in the playoffs because, he hasn't had the biggest season right now. He's been inconsistent. He's had moments where it's been down, and I think that all has to come into the conversation. And there are limitations with the style of offense that we play, but, go gamer mode, and guess what? This city won't give a rat's ass. But you also see the ruthlessness of this city. I think that's why Jalen was upset.
I like it.
I know you like it, and I like it too, but I do think that was part of the reason why. Like in Jalen's mind, he's probably like, man, if they're turning on me now, they'll always turn on me. They'll be in my corner when it's good, So that's part of it.
Wait, no, always be prepared. You guys turned on Carson Wentz. I told you you're going to turn on A.J. Brown. You're going to turn on everybody. Anybody who leaves Philadelphia. It's like the mafia. You guys, if you try to leave, hey, guess what? This ain't a social services job. When you leave the Philadelphia,
but that's not true. We got love for some legends, man. There's love for this city. If you deliver for this city will
have love for C.J. Gardner when he left.
Yeah, but C.J. Gardner-Johnson wasn't looked at as the main reason that the team won a ring. I mean, Nick Foles gets a lot of love. He played elsewhere after this. I mean, there's guys like Brian Dawkins there. I mean, Seth Joyner has a full career in the city for what he did in the city. Rightfully so. I'm just saying that the city doesn't out.
All right, that's fair.
The city doesn't kick everybody to the curb. That's not really the right way to look at it.
No, it's not true.
But if you don't deliver when expectations are rightly there, like John always says, we're a spoiled fan base. I think that's bullshit because this is the best roster we've ever had. So the city looks at this and says, this should be the most fruitful era we've ever had because they assembled the best roster at the best moment. Go and take advantage of it. If you don't, then we're going to look at what could have or what should have been. And I think that's fair. People still give McNabb a lot of love in this city. And it's not very hard to make an argument he underdelivered for this city, you know? So I don't really think that that's true. I think right now you're in the middle of an era where the team is looked at, right or wrong, as so good and capable of so much that anything short of the expectation is looked at as a lost and missed opportunity that may never return. Remember, this city has PTSD on stuff too. That 04 Super Bowl, you get there and you never get back. You lose what? How many NFC championship games with Donovan McNabb? 4, 5? I forget what the number was, but I know it was a lot. So 5. This city wants to take advantage of the opportunities that come, and that's good. But I do agree with
5 NFC championships.
Right now, we're all prisoners of the moment, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think they got to get the job done, Jamie.
You think you have a lot of love for T.O.? Do you think the city has love for T.O.?
It's different to me because T.O. was here for 1 year. I have a lot of love for him, and he's certainly the most talented receiver to ever wear an Eagles uniform. But like yesterday, I made a comment. A.J. Brown's the best receiver to ever wear Eagles. When I say best, I don't mean the most talented because that's reserved for Terrell Owens.
He's had a career here.
Exactly. AJ's built a career. He's been to 2 Super Bowls here. He's racked up most of his receiving yards in his career here in Philly. He's been an all-pro here in Philly. I mean, he's accomplished all those things as an Eagle.
I want to show you something here, Xander. So would you not say that Lane Johnson's the greatest offensive lineman in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles?
They've had some good offensive linemen in their day, but I think he's definitely
Oh, we go Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
Super Bowl era. Do you think Lane Johnson?
I mean, they still have had some great offensive linemen.
I'm talking. They have, but I think Lane's your best.
I agree.
Jason Peters was a really good player, but Lane he's had an Eagle career in what Xander's talking about. Okay. You think Barkley's the greatest running back the Philadelphia Eagles have ever had?
No. I don't even think Barkley's better than a guy like Brian Westbrook, in my opinion. Shady too, but I go to Brian Westbrook first. I mean, Brian Westbrook could do everything. He could catch, he could run, he could do everything.
Everything.
I mean, can you imagine Brian Westbrook in like a Tom Brady type offense where they actually use him, or like Aaron Rodgers right now with what he's doing with Kenny Greenwell?
Offense, he'd have
Jalen doesn't check down.
Yeah, but he'd have 1,500 yards rushing, and bro, he'd have like 700 yards receiving. He was so fucking good.
Brian Westbrook on the 2024 Eagles would have.
Yeah,
so I mean, look, I love Saquon. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take away from Saquon, but I don't immediately go and say he's the best running back we've ever had. I don't.
Just the best season of all time. That doesn't mean he had
to me. Yeah, I mean, B. West, Shady, I think is there are different styles.
Shady's 11,000-yard rusher.
Yeah, Shady nobody was better in open field than Shady. I mean,
and in bad weather.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's got all those bad weather games, but yeah, Brian Westbrook to me is my favorite probably.
What do you make of the lack of sacks on this football team this year? Issue or no?
No, it's not their way they're built. They're more built with interior on the defensive line.
Did they have a lot of sacks last year?
No, I think they had like 45, right, last year? What do they have this year?
It's like one of the worst in the league. I think they're at the bottom 5. I don't know
the total. It's not the way they're built. Like we came into the year and everybody was like, what the hell are we doing at edge rusher? I mean, we have Josh Uche starting a lot of the year. We had Patrick Johnson. We had, Azeez Ojulari. Like we didn't until the trade deadline, we didn't even have a headliner like we have in Jalen Phillips. I mean, you're rotating Jalen Hunt, Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham, all these guys. So we're built interior wise first. Edge rushers have come later for this team. It's worked out well for them. I think that's what Vic prefers, to be honest with you. And I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I mean, they're doing good in pressures. The interior of the defensive line's playing really good. And I think they're still making it hard on quarterbacks.
See, here's my problem with the defense. I don't really think you're deep enough in the middle of the defensive line. I just don't think you're deep enough. If you're playing Brandon Graham at D tackle, by the way, I heard your comment to John. Was that?
If Carter comes back.
No, when Carter, okay, like I said, though, when Carter comes back, so Young is your backup, and then who else?
Well, you got
who's
Carter,
to say,
Carter?
Who's to say Carter's coming back at full strength?
Well, that's fair, but I mean the rotation was decent the last couple of weeks without Carter. So,
look what
I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm no fan of Byron Young in terms of like dominant, but he's the defensive tackle number 4 here. Now, how many DTs you want?
That's what I'm saying. You don't have a lot of depth.
Dude, the 4th DT, the 5th DT on the team is Brandon Graham. What are you talking about? That's plenty of depth to me. I get it. I wanted to keep
Brandon Graham's not a defensive tackle in the postseason, dude. Don't run that guy over. He's 248.
Who else you got? You got somebody else. I mean, I forget it. Why am I blanking on his name? Thomas Booker. Who's after? No, Thomas
Dude,
Booker.
If you're playing Brandon Graham at 245 pounds, 250 pounds, you don't have anybody. He's putting him in there because they don't really have any.
I don't know.
Bro, playing against the fucking Raiders who didn't want to show up and Commanders, when you get into the postseason and you got to play against the Bears and you're not lining up Brandon Graham against the fucking Bears at DT. You're going to run him over.
Here's the thing. Are you going to fucking tell me we're not going to beat the Bears because our 5th DT isn't up to your standard?
I'm telling you, you're not deep at DT. You got ran over.
I don't agree. We have 4 good defensive tackles. How many defensive tackles do you want?
Not in that Bear game you didn't.
Well, that's an outlier.
You're saying that, but you're saying that because you don't believe it because why? You played well against the Raiders?
No, because we have 15
I thought the fucking Chargers ran you over.
We have 15 weeks of football.
Okay.
The 280 on the ground was 1 game.
You're 22nd. You're 22nd against the run, bro.
I get that, and they've never focused on being a run-stopping team. They've asked Vic about this at the press conference.
If you're telling me you think your depth is Brandon Graham at defensive tackle,
no, I'm pushing back on the notion that they don't have anybody at defensive tackle.
Okay,
you're talking to me about
outside of Carter and Davis. Who's your depth again? Brandon Graham and Young. All right, that's not depth.
Third defensive tackle. That's a pretty good third DT,
yeah,
bro.
Well,
there's not many teams.
If that's what you think, okay, I don't. That's not a very deep defensive tackle group.
What do you want to have an all-star at DT number 4?
No, I wanted you to keep Booker.
That's what it's about. You're looking for a hate on Howie.
No, hey, oh, what do you mean you're coming around the corner on me there a little bit?
No, I'm not trying to do that.
Hey, where's Jacorian Bennett? Where'd he go?
Yeah, guy's fucking nobody. I know. I said that was a shitty trade. You don't have to get me to. Well, I won't hesitate to say that. But I mean, you're talking to me like Byron Young's getting 60 snaps a game. The guy's playing 8 snaps. Brandon Graham played 7 snaps last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know. I got it.
I mean, come on, man.
No. Hey, thank God the Raiders showed up for a nice cup of Eagle Tonic. I love it. Hey, what do you expect from Jalen Carter when he comes back?
I'm expecting dominance.
Dominance?
Make me feel better about that lack of depth at the defensive tackle position. So
who's next to play DT for the Eagles? Nakobe Dean?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe. Nakobe Dean's not bad, though. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, Xander, Nakobe Dean had not been playing good football until he got into that Raider game.
That's not true.
Ask John McMullen. John will tell you, too.
John McMullen's not the arbiter of truth when it comes to evaluation of football. Ask John McMullen. John McMullen is Vince Lombardi. I mean, with all due respect to John, you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. So you think the Kobe's played well this year?
I do. I think Nakobe's played well. I mean, he's had moments, but everybody's got moments.
Okay, he's missed 21 games in 3 years. You signing him?
All right, well, now you're using a different metric. You said since he returned to the field.
Hey.
Now you're going back that he's injured. No. I know he's got injury problems.
No. He's missed 21 games in 3 years. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, he's got injury problems.
Huh?
I can't stay healthy.
All right. Yeah, no.
When he's on the field, though, he's a solid player.
Thank God. Solid? No, he's not more. He's more than solid.
All right. And you got your Jahad Campbell waiting in the wing.
Would you agree that the most improved football player on your football team comes down between Moro Ojomo and Jalix Hunt?
The what? The most improved?
Yeah.
On
defense.
Well, it's not like anybody from offense is getting the award.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to give it to Jalen Hurts, most improved Jalen Hurts.
No, Tyler Steen I'd probably give it to.
I think Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis has become a 3-tech. He's rushing the passer more this year. He's got more sacks this year. He's stopping the run better. He's shedding double teams better. He's played his 2 best games without Jalen Carter on the field. Jordan Davis is a slam dunk for an extension this summer.
They take him off the field on 3rd down.
Dude, that's what his role is right now.
So
you know what? Wait,
let's
circle it around, everybody.
Wait a minute.
Wait, Sileo. Hey. Why do they take him off the field on 3rd down?
Because he can't rush the passer.
Because they have great depth at defensive tackle.
Who do they bring in?
You just talked yourself into a circle, Silz.
Wait. No. You're going to extend a guy who doesn't play 3 downs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
I'm going to give a guy $25 million, and I'm going to give another guy $35 million.
You're throwing out numbers. You said you're going to extend a guy. I said, yes, I'm going to extend Jordan Davis. Does Vita Vea play 3 downs?
A 2-down defensive lineman.
Does Vita Vea play 3 downs?
They play a 3-4.
Different defense. But Jordan Davis has really come a long way, and I know you see that. You're just trying to be the contrarian here. You were a defensive tackle. I know you're watching Jordan Davis. I think he's playing.
No, I think he's playing
well done, young man.
He's not playing all pro, but he's playing Pro Bowl ball.
Yeah. Pro Bowl ball is an extension for me.
it would be a hefty one too. You're talking
I'm
22
good with
north.
that.
You're talking north of 22 when you do that.
He's emerged as the vocal voice of the defense. You know, I'm used to defensive linemen taking a long time to develop in this city. He's only 4 years in. How old is Jordan Davis? Jordan
24.
Davis, age,
He
Eagles.
was a young kid when he got
He's
drafted.
25 years old.
25.
I mean, this is a kid that I'm betting on, and I get it. It's part of a bet. Yes, it is. You're betting on him to continue getting better. But I'll tell you what, I've seen more out of Jordan Davis to make me feel good about his next 5 years than I've seen of Jalen Carter. And Jalen Carter clears him in talent. It's not even close.
I agree. Hey, do you think, before we get to Howard, do you think they're coaching Jaden Daniels right by not playing him? And follow me here before you jump on this here. Dude, this guy, they shut him down. Don't you got to figure out, he's 6'4", 210. Don't you got to figure out if this guy's not RG3 2.0 and whether or not you're going to go forward with this guy? As I heard John say it, and he's right. There's only 17 of these things, dude. The only way you get better is playing in ball games. Sitting guys and like saving guys and this and that. Hey, he had a great rookie year. But, bro, the key to a great quarterback is evolving your game year in and year out. Tom Brady tells you he got better every single season that he played. And not putting a guy in a ball game, even if the game doesn't mean shit, to me, you know what, man? Those are valuable reps. Preseason's not going to give you shit. Controlled scrimmages, that's not going to give you anything. You've got to play, bro, to get better in this league.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up RG3 because I actually think in a weird way that's still haunting them and maybe is part of their decision process, right? I mean, you know, because I think when you look at Jaden, and I understand what you're saying about development of a quarterback, and you only have so many games and you don't want to, you know, you got to keep evolving. But when everybody looks at Jaden, and at least this is how I look at it, I can only speak for myself in my opinion, but I don't view Jaden as a guy that's lacking in talent or needs development in areas. My biggest questions with Jaden are, is he going to be able to withstand the rigor of the NFL? You know, the big, you know, getting beat up and all of those things. So I think they're looking at it more cautious. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think he's obviously a very immensely talented football player. And I think, like I said, I think they're scared because of what happened to RG3. You know, they're trying to protect him. This season's a wash for them. What do they have, 3 or 4 wins right now? I mean, they're not going anywhere. They didn't build the roster the right way, as me and you talked about all summer. I mean, I talked about this. I thought the Cowboys were going to finish second in the East because I hated what they did on that roster, and I don't think it's worked out that well. So they got to go back to the drawing board and get their QB healthy. I can't say I hate that method for them.
Any good old lineman in this draft? This is going to be one of the deepest drafts in 25 years. By the way, though, I don't like the quarterback class.
Me neither. I'll tell you who I love in this draft. Your Miami boy.
Oh, yeah, the OT?
Yep. No.
Bain.
Bain.
Yeah.
He might be my number one player. Him or Caleb Downs is probably up there as one of my number one players in the draft. He is a freaking.
I talk to Bain weekly. I love him, man.
That kid is.
You know, he wasn't going to play in the bowl game, but he's going to play obviously this Saturday against A&M. Mm-hmm. Hey, by the way, Xander, before I bring up Howard here, do you know Howard Balzer was part of the very first draft on ESPN? He helped set up with Paul Zimmerman and all those guys. What you see every April, he was one of the first guys. I got to say this. I wonder how many Emmys he's won over that. It's got to be 4 or 5 Emmys that he won. His group was the first people that started the NFL draft and broadcasting. Wow. Howard was there for the beginning.
It's one of the things, Silz, I appreciate the most being younger in this industry is like seeing what things people did before us that have set up the structure of what we have today. You know what I mean? It's become obviously such a massive entity, massive sport. So that's pretty sick, man. I'm looking forward to the interview.
You got it, man. Thank you, Xander. I'll see you in the morning, bro.
Later, Silz. Appreciate it.
You got it. That is my friend. Yeah, folks, the guy who helped set up the NFL draft and everything you see ESPN does, Howard Balzer was there. Him, Paul Zimmerman, Chris Berman. It was all those guys. I remember when Vinny Testaverde got drafted in 1987, all these guys were there. And it was a phone call. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Howard and those guys were at like a Marriott. back in the day. So without further ado, we had Jared Bell on with us earlier in the 3:30 hour, and now we're bringing on another Hall of Fame guy. Earlier today, I talked to Armando Salguero. I talked to 3 of the 50 men today that are voting for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. And we bring in our friend Howard Balzer. He joins us now. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good. Just want to let you know, when you said 50 men, there's some women in there too.
Yep.
Who vote.
Yep.
So it's not all us men, but yeah, hearing you always bringing up the ESPN draft back in the day. And I think back in those later years, I mean, I did it from 1980 through 1988, I'm pretty sure. And I think by the end it was at the Marriott. Early days it was at the Sheraton. But yeah, it was it was quite the thing now. And when ESPN shows some of the 30 by 30s and other things, and they see the little table that we were sitting at and talk about bare bones television, that was certainly what it was like in the beginning. And of course, that's true of all the technology. When you watch I love watching the old NBA games. You see those guys running down the court in their little short shorts. You know? It's pretty funny.
How many did you guys win any Emmy awards for that show? I mean,
I'm not sure if we did or not. I don't remember any Emmys being won. I don't know, because it was cable, and cable was really in its infancy then. I'm not even sure if they were eligible for that. You would think that maybe it would have happened, but I might have forgotten. Maybe there were some Emmys, but awards didn't matter. Awards didn't matter. We opened up the door for everything that happened. And the one thing I always say, Dan, is that, I mean, it was that first one, obviously, man, that was fly by the seat of your pants television. And we didn't know what the reaction was going to be. A lot of it was pretty solid. All the newspapers then, what's a newspaper anymore, right?
Yeah, right.
All the newspapers then had radio and TV reporters, and most of them wrote about it. And I saw a bunch of those reviews, and it was, it was pretty positive. And the thing I always said is, the biggest thing about what we did is that ESPN decided to do it for a second year. So we must have done something right. If it wasn't what they had hoped it would be, they would have said, okay, it was worth trying, but we're not going to go forward with it. But they did, and it continued. And of course, now one of the great shows that ESPN runs almost every year is the famous 30 by 30 from the 1983 draft, with all those quarterbacks, and they include a whole bunch of clips from that show, from the different panels that all of us were on. So yeah, it's great history. It's great history, and it was just humbling, really, to be a part of that beginning.
Man, it's incredible too. If you think about it, they get like 500,000 people, Howard, to show up just to the event. They get over 30 million, in ratings when it comes to watching it. Are you surprised on how big that thing has become from what you guys, like you said, you're sitting at a small table. Your guys are sitting there having to do your work. God, it must have been insane how you got your information on how to evaluate. Back then it was 12 rounds too. It wasn't 7 rounds. So you had all those players that you had to. You got to be amazed on what you see where it is today and what you guys started.
No question. No question. And obviously just doing it year after year, certainly the internet has fueled it. I think a big part of it really is that, back in the day, I mean, people forget, a lot of people who weren't even around forget, there was no free agency or anything like that between the end of the season, and everybody was just waiting for the draft. And so there wasn't a lot of this day by day of news and information and everything. And certainly the internet has fueled it. But I think when the NFL got unrestricted free agency back in the early to mid 90s, that really drove it also, because football became 24/7 in the off season, and you had free agency leading into the draft, and how's that going to impact what teams do, who they sign, who they lose, and all that. So on one level, it's not that surprising. But the other part of it, Dan, is that the NFL really fell into that, because, we mentioned the different hotels we were at. Then it was at Radio City for a bunch of years, in New York City. And really what ended up happening one year is, kind of late in the game, they discovered that the draft was set for the same time as the Easter holiday show with the Rockettes at Radio City. Because let's remember, the date of Easter changes every year. And so no one realized it. And all of a sudden, the NFL had to quickly move the draft from Radio City to somewhere else. In fact, I think they might have done it in the theater at Madison Square Garden, if I'm not mistaken. So that began conversations of, well, do we want to stay in New York City? Do we want to stay at Radio City? And that's where they started thinking about it. And the first year, they say, well, let's just try this. And they had the draft in Chicago. And who knows? If that hadn't happened with Radio City, who knows? We might still be in New York City for all we know. But that started the moving of the draft, which now, like you said, is just off the chain with, and heck, cities bid for the draft. And most of the cities that bid for it are cities they know they're never going to get a Super Bowl. And it's become a bidding process just as big and just as strong as it is to try to bid for a Super Bowl in the NFL. And so it's moving around and going, next April it'll be in Pittsburgh. And, we'll see after that. But yeah, it's gotten so huge and multiple networks and the number of people that watch, it's just, no one could have ever envisioned back then what it was going to be in, where it is now.
Man, amazing honor. I mean, Howard, that is really something in your resume there that's just absolutely sensational. I asked Jarrett Bell this question, and I'm going to ask you, and I asked Jason Cole, and I asked Armando. First, Armando didn't want to answer it. Jason didn't want to answer it. And Jarrett Bell kind of hinted around it. Would you vote for Antonio Brown to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
That's a great question. And what'll be interesting is when he becomes eligible, will he make that 15? And it's one of those unique stories because we're not supposed to include things that happen off the field.
That's what Jarrett said.
And we're not supposed to include that. However, there becomes a fine line in certain situations of what is really now most consider off the field being, okay, you got into some trouble or you were suspended for substance abuse, which hasn't hurt players, right? But where does it stand when that quote away from the field on Sunday is stuff that impacts the team you're on, whether it's in the locker room, if you're divisive? I mean, heck, that contributed to the weight that Terrell Owens had to get into the Hall of Fame. And that was the argument. Well, we're not supposed to consider off the field. Well, a lot of the stuff he did, heck, he was suspended twice by two different teams, the 49ers and the Eagles, not for, quote, off the field stuff like being, people say, oh, he was never arrested. Well, but he was suspended twice for conduct detrimental to the team and things that he did and some of the divisive stuff. So that's going to be the big thing with Antonio Brown. And yes, some of it was getting into trouble and this and that and the other, but a lot of it was, with his team also. And the question will become, did he do enough in that early part of his career before it just went haywire near the end? And so we'll see. I can't say right now on the numbers. You would probably say he's deserving certainly to be discussed, but also when it comes down to other players you're considering, other receivers you're considering who always did things the right way, a lot of times those guys are going to get more support.
Absolutely. And you may be giving them his gold jacket in prison. So, that would be a first for sure here. All right.
Oh, so then the other quick thing I'll just throw in is, T.O., for all his greatness on the field, he kind of showed who he was by not even showing up for the ceremony. Come on. And who's he hurting by not doing that? In a sense, he's not really part of that brotherhood. He doesn't go there. He didn't go there that year with the rest of his class. He obviously hasn't come back since to mingle with all these other Hall of Famers that everyone considers that their new team once they're done.
That's a shame.
So yeah, that was almost, and it was kind of emphasizing who T.O. was beyond what he did on the football field.
Well, my point is, when you get that tremendous honor, I think you're a representative of the league.
Exactly.
You're a guy that's supposed to represent the league when you get one of those jackets, and for you not to even embrace that, hey, I see why there was major issues on putting him in on the first ballot. All right, so let me go into the modern day NFL, the Eagles. Who's the biggest threat, in your opinion, to the Eagles in the NFC this year? Give me two teams, or give me one team if you think that you're looking at a team that who you like right now to come out of the NFC.
Well, I think the team, and I don't. Most would probably agree with me. The team that everyone's looking at is the Rams right now, and they have a complete roster. They're a team that has avoided a lot of injury during the season, unlike a bunch of other teams. You know, they've got balance in their offense, good defense, and they're as good as anybody. But the thing I always say, and I don't want it to sound like a cop-out, is the thing I always believe. I remember Tony La Russa, the great baseball manager, always used to say the most important thing, obviously, is to just get into the postseason, because after that, anything can happen, right? And that's in series that go, best of 3, best of 5, best of 7, whatever it might be. Football's one and done, and anything can happen, we know, in one game. And so when I look at the rest of the NFC, I mean, Seattle is darn good. I mean, heck, the 49ers have weathered a whole bunch of early injuries, are still missing, some of their top players, but they're still playing, top of the line football. I'm not sure about the Packers. I mean, some of the guys they've lost, I think they were really affected in this last game when Christian Watson, who had come back from injury and became a big play guy downfield for Jordan Love, and all of a sudden he gets hurt again, and they lost Tucker Kraft several weeks ago. So I'm not sure that they have enough.
And Micah now.
Yeah, right, exactly. They don't have Micah. The one team you wonder about, of course, they've been so banged up on defense. If the Lions find a way to get in, then I think they could be very dangerous. So when you look at the NFC, and yes, there is the Eagles. I mean, this is a team that always seems to be an enigma, but they're getting through some time now with injuries on the offensive line, especially. Heck, when you go back over the Eagles over the last decade, whatever it is, they're a different team on offense when Lane Johnson is on the field and when he is not. And they get him back, and that's a team, they get into the postseason, and it obviously is very likely they will. That's going to be a dangerous team in the postseason too. So I always say it's almost a flip of the coin of what might happen in the postseason, because so many of the teams are so closely balanced.
Are you more surprised with Chicago or Denver this year?
Probably Chicago, mainly because they have a first-year head coach. You never knew how Ben Johnson was going to do. But the thing about the Bears was that their season just went to hell last year after that crazy Hail Mary loss to Washington. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, they were 4-2.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, after that loss, they just lost a whole bunch of close games. This year they're winning close games. They're playing pretty well on both sides of the ball. I wonder how they'll react to being in the postseason, and it looks like they definitely will get there. So I'm probably a little surprised. Not that they're better, but that they've gone 10-4. Denver, for that matter, kind of. I mean, no one would have expected them to be 12-2.
No
I mean,
way.
heck, they were in the postseason, and so you knew that they were a pretty darn good team. But they've taken a jump. Their schedule wasn't that hard, and they've won a ton of close games. And that I was so glad, because I bang the drum for that all the time, about how this is a sport where close games decided. I mean, all you have to do is look at the Chiefs. I mean, here's a team that last year was 11-0 in one-score games, which is crazy, but they were 11-0, and 5 of those wins were by a field goal or less. This year, they're 1-7 in one-score games, and 5 of the losses are by 3 points or less. And certainly the offensive line has been a mess. I mean, they started an undrafted free agent at left tackle in their last game that they cut at the end of camp and was claimed on waivers by the Jets. The Jets cut him about a month later. Issa Pole, I'm not even sure how to pronounce his name, Pole. And all of a sudden, because of all the injuries, he started and played virtually every snap in their last loss. And so they're decimated on the offensive line. But those close losses, and it's easy to say if, right? But heck, 1-7, even if you just win 3 of those 6 losses, all of a sudden, instead of being 6-8, they're 9-5. Now, of course, Mahomes getting hurt, that's a side story. But that's the NFL. And that's been the case for the Broncos. And you don't criticize them for winning close games, but that's the difference. I mean, we saw the Vikings, what was it, a couple of years ago, where they, trying to remember the number. The number was outlandish. Might have been 13 or 14 one-score games.
Yeah.
Then they got into the playoffs, and guess what? They lost.
That's right.
To the Giants, and I'm pretty sure that was a one-score game. So
right.
The Broncos have to. It's one thing to do it throughout the season.
Daniel Jones beat them. That's right.
It's one thing to be able to do that against some of the not so good teams in the NFL. It's another thing to do it in the postseason. But they're very good defensively, obviously. Bo Nix is improving, and he just has a knack for making those plays at critical times to give them wins. So it's going to be very, very intriguing to see them in the playoffs. New England, see how they do in the postseason, both with second-year quarterbacks. Buffalo, heck, if they can finish strong, that's going to, they're going to be one of those teams, Dan, that even if, they probably still won't win a division, although you never know. But if they get in as a wild card, and they're going to be one of those teams, though, what is everybody going to say? Oh, nobody wants to play the Bills in the postseason. We'll hear that a lot. And there'll be a team that, certainly, if they continue how they're playing now, they could definitely make a run in the postseason in the AFC.
Don't you agree that, it's all set up for Allen on the AFC side, because you're not going to maybe have Lamar. You're not going to have Mahomes. You're not going to have Burrow.
Yeah.
You're not having any of those big-time guys. You're having May and Bo Nix. You're having a lot of young football players. Herbert's probably going to get into the postseason, so that could be an obstacle. But, isn't this set up really for the Buffalo Bills and for Josh Allen? If he's not going to do it this year, I wouldn't want to think next year you're not going to have any of those names back in the postseason again for the NFL, especially on the AFC side. This is the year right here. I'm not saying he's got a great roster, but, people on the AFC side, I don't know how much about, New England with that last place schedule. I know they beat them earlier in the year, then they turned around and won, but this is set up for Allen now, isn't it?
That's a great point. And when you look at where the Bills have, left the postseason, and most of the time it's been with close losses to the Chiefs. And I think then I think they lost to the Bengals that year that the Bengals moved on. So yeah, and that's that. And it's not, obviously Josh Allen's not playing against those quarterbacks, but they would have leads, and the other guy just came up with the plays. And so we'll see. What'll be funny is if they're playing one of those really good games, and all of a sudden if they're playing the Patriots or playing the Broncos, if all of a sudden one of those young quarterbacks takes his team down the field against a defense that has a bunch of questions, and all of a sudden they lose in the same fashion that they've lost in previous years. But it still is you would think, a pretty good path for them. But obviously you got to get out there and do it. And, sometimes I think, Dan, that people just don't realize or understand how hard it is to win a game, any game in the NFL, much less in the postseason. It is just a brutal, brutal league. And those one-score games show it. But then when you get a team that loses a whole bunch of them, look at Washington. They were in the NFC Championship. You were just talking with Xander about Jaden Daniels, but they were in the NFC Championship game last year. And while maybe you didn't expect them to win 12 in the regular season again, you still felt they'd be in a hunt, and they won 4 games. Now, granted, Daniels' injury has been a part of it, but they were still kind of, teetering even when he was healthy. So you just never know. Not only from one season to the next, but sometimes you never know from one week to the next week what's going to happen in this league. And that speaks to how competitive it is and the different things that can turn games, whether it's a penalty at the wrong time or you don't convert a 3rd and 1 or whatever it might be. We can all point to tons of those plays that change the course of games and change the course of history. And it happens all the time in the NFL.
I am going to give you one last one here. And I had fun with Jarrett with this. And After watching Phillip Rivers, by the way, pull his name out of the Hall of Fame consideration, he would have had a tough putt, as Jared said as well, making it over Breeze and Eli Manning, but probably more over Eli. I mean, more over Breeze, I should say. So let me ask you a question. I saw Phillip Rivers almost beat Seattle in Seattle. And I want to throw this at you. You think Tom Brady could come out of the booth? And do you think Tom Brady could win a football game still today at 48?
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. And if he came out now, he wouldn't be out as long as Rivers was, right?
Yeah.
And with the way he played and and all that, his passion for the game. I mean, we saw that, from Rivers in that game. Obviously, he'll start again this
Monday
week.
night.
Yeah, the defense did a great job in that game. I mean, Seattle didn't even score a touchdown. But here's what I was thinking of last night. Wouldn't this be wild, right? That this is it for Rivers. It's hard to imagine him coming back next year, but this is it for Rivers. Now the clock resets to 2031. Aaron Rodgers, if he doesn't come back. And let's say the Rams win the Super Bowl and Matthew Stafford says,
wow, what a class.
It's been enough of a grind. This is it for me. And all three of those guys become eligible the same year, right?
Oh, my God.
Goodness gracious. Now, it's not that much of a stretch that it could happen. I mean, I think Stafford will be back however their season ends, but you still never know. I mean, he's going to be 38, I think it is.
See, I think if he wins it, he's out because you know why? I'm going to throw this at you. I think it's because, remember, they went to high school together, Clayton Kershaw and him. Kershaw just won a World Series title.
Yeah, without playing.
It'd be great for both of them to go out the same time winning a championship together.
Yeah, it could be. And so it's, that would be wild. And I'll tell you, to me, Phillip Rivers, and granted, he's not one of those slam dunk Hall of Famers.
Oh, I think he's a Hall of Famer.
He probably wasn't going to get in this year. I believe he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think if you look at him in that draft with Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger, I think Rivers was as good or maybe better than those other two guys. He just, the Chargers that always lose to the Colts or the Patriots for the most part in the postseason. But to me, the epitome of Phillip Rivers was just coming back and basically not even giving a thought to the fact that he's going to have to wait another 5 years to even be considered again for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That to me says something about the guy as opposed to the player.
The love of the game.
Yeah, I was just going to say the love of the game, the passion. I mean, you saw the clip, I'm sure, after that, that touchdown that put him ahead late, and then the field. I mean, he was just pumped as you could be. And so when you see that, you wonder, could he consider coming back and playing another season? But I don't know. But sometimes you just don't want to go through that whole offseason grind and everything there is just to get ready for an NFL season. But that said a lot to me, what, he was, just by coming back to play this sport. And who knows, what the future holds. But man, another 5 years. I mean, when you think of that, it'll be 10 years after he should have been eligible. And by being active for 4 games, that pushes it back another 5.
Man, I'll tell you too. And what I love is that, like you said, it's the love of the game, Howard, that I love people who love football, and I love people who love pro football. And again, I appreciate you so much, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm listen, I'm so privileged, man, to get you, Armando, Jason, and Jared Bell. You guys have just been great to me my whole life, man. And you guys are the custodians of the National Football League, and I hold you guys in high regard. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate you being my friend, and thank you for doing this.
I always enjoy coming on with you. Sorry for
good.
being a little delayed today. I'm in that stage. Every interview I do,
real quick, is Jonathan Gannon coming back?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we could talk about that, for quite a while. I don't know if he will or not. There's talk that Michael Bidwell, the owner, understands all that they went through this year. I mean, they just put another 2 guys on injured reserve today. I mean, they currently, I just looked up I'm trying to remember what the number is. I think right now they have something like 22 players on injured reserve. And through 14 games, they've had 37 players, including guys obviously who are on the injured reserve list, but also other guys who just missed games who didn't go on IR, right? 37 players have missed like 275 games.
Wow.
This season. And it affects everything. What people don't realize, I just put a story together for the website Cards Wire that I do some writing, and I just put a story together. People don't realize, and people are saying, special teams are even bad. Well, when you're losing starters, and then you have to move back up to the special teams, when you're signing guys off the street, and then they have to go out there and play on special teams, and the injuries have continued to pile up throughout the entire season. And they've had 65 different players play on special teams in 14 weeks. So it affects everything. And they can't even last week they had I added it up. They had something like 40 did not practice during the week. Some weeks they have a walkthrough on Wednesday because they don't even have enough players to practice. And so how do you prepare for a game with moving parts on offense, on defense, on special teams, and then expect to go out and be competitive? And that's been so. The thing now is, I think Bidwell understands it. Their last two games, they've given up 40 plus points. And so I think they've got to show something in these last, who knows, the last game of the season against the Rams might not be playing for anything, but they've got the Falcons and the Bengals. And I think win or lose, they at least have to be, you would think they have to be competitive in those games, but it's hard. It's hard to be competitive. Gannon says all the time, Dan, he says, well, yeah, it's a challenge with all these moving pieces, but we have to coach the guys who are here and get them prepared to play. Well, they do that, but you're playing a lot of backups, and there's reasons guys are backups. Yeah. I mean, behind Michael Wilson with Marvin Harrison Jr. out, their three receivers the last 2 weeks have been Andre Bocelli, who went on injury reserve today. He was brought up from the practice squad. Jalen Brooks and Trent Sherfield Sr., who just joined the practice squad in the last month. And those were your three wide receivers active for the game. They just put a third running back on injured reserve. So when you have that, I mean, how do you expect there to be any consistency in the offense? So I don't think it's personnel, and they just haven't had their guys on the field.
Absolutely. Howard, we got to run. Thank you so much, my friend. We will do this again. I appreciate you so much, as you know. Thank you, my friend.
As I always say, appreciate the appreciation. Thanks, man.
Thank you. You bet. Howard Balzer, Pro Football Hall of Fame voter here. Xander, let's do a quick 30 here, and we'll wrap this puppy up here, okay? Let's do a quick 30 here. My great friends at Morgan & Morgan, the number one injury law firm in all of America for a reason, with over $30 billion recovered. The number one reason that they are number one is because they win in court. Folks, they don't get paid unless you win. Simple as that. With thousands of attorneys, coast to coast, they cover you if you're ever injured at work. Please do me a favor. Check them out at forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sales sent you.
There's a reason Detective Johnson is the gossip king.
Oh, did you hear? Jackie and Tom
are getting a divorce? Mm-hmm. Sad.
Well, I heard that Ashley
had work done on her face? Yeah, oof.
Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Injured? With over $25 billion recovered for our clients, there's a reason to go big.
Bathroom? Okay.
Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Oh, okay.
Without a doubt, folks, we appreciate it. Joe Theismann tomorrow will join us. That'll be at 4:30 Eastern Time. Big Z, Joe, thank you. 2 to 6 tomorrow. Please hit the like button, and we'll see you on the flip side.